everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, and I want to thank you for being here. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
Joined by Janet Garcia. Joined by Jeff Markifava.
That's me.
Welcome to this episode.
It's a me.
He can't
It
take it away.
is. It's a me. Yeah.
This episode, we've got this crew for the last several years together to give our predictions for the year. And you might be saying, it's the end of February. What are you doing giving predictions now? There's been a lot of stuff. We wanted to do this episode at the very beginning of January with Alana, and then it just kept getting bumped and bumped and bumped. But we're going to dive into all of our predictions from last year. Let's see how we did. Let's jump into our predictions for this coming year, all that fun stuff. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. We're going to be talking about it more next week, but we're going to dabble a little bit in that. We're going to dabble a little bit in Avowed. I think we'll talk about a game about digging a hole, talk about Aloft, Keep Driving, Rift of the NecroDancer, and then we have some fun community questions in the back half of the show, and Leo Vader is going to be joining us as well to talk about some of those games before we get to the good questions. And then next week, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of other games, so stay tuned for that fun thing. But before we get to any of this stuff, quick plug that what we were teasing, I think the last couple of weeks, is now out in the dang wild. We launched a new standalone podcast under the MinnMax Podcast Network called Pew Pew Bang with Kelsey Lewin and Janet Garcia and Haley McLean and Sarah Podzorski. Shout out to that entire crew for coming together to plan a big new standalone podcast. So this is in its own podcast feed. It's not in the Patreon bonus podcast feed. So you subscribe to Pew Pew Bang on your favorite podcast app. It's also available on MinnMax's YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Janet, what's the pitch for this Pew Pew Bang show you got?
It's a video game podcast where every episode is a slumber party. So it's, very low key, chill, laid back. All the episodes are evergreen. They feature just sort of fun theme segments, and we include a little bit of life advice at the end. Yeah,
it's lovely. Like the original pitch, I think, is like Kelsey being like, God, I feel like I want to do something. We want to find more of our people. We want to make a show that's a little more welcoming to women without being exclusive.
We build it, they will come unless they don't, which we're going to find out that second part later, but we're working really hard at trying to draw that audience in.
Yeah. So if you like Pew Pew Bang, and I thought it was a good way to put it, I think, in that first episode, which was great, when Kelsey said, share it with the femme-leaning people in your life. It's not an exclusive show by any means, but hopefully we can find a slightly broader audience with Pew Pew Bang if you want to check that thing out. So subscribe, standalone feed, favorite podcast app. It'll be sitting in there for you. I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode. The feedback has been universal praise. It hit the #1 video game podcast charts on Apple. It is out of the gate roaring. Yep. I gotta say, Janet, everybody was great on that episode. I was on the edge of my damn seat when you all called up Sarah's sister. Because I knew that Sarah had a twin, and for so long, it's like, God, what is Sarah's twin like? So when she was on the line, literally, edge of my seat, oh my God, this
Sweating.
is... Yeah, I
in.
am fascinated by this concept of Sarah's twin. So if you want to hear that, Pew Pew Bang, everybody, subscribe, please, check it out. Okay, podcast, predictions. Here we go. The two things, peanut butter and jelly. Typically, Jeff, the way we pitched it since the beginning of MinnMax is these aren't predictions. It's like we're looking into a crystal ball. This is 100% going to happen no matter what. So should we start with some predictions from last year that we got right? Or should we start with what we got wrong? Or should we start with who nailed it the most?
Yeah, let's start with make us look like idiots.
Yeah. Let's see. Who could be the big... Oh, this is a good clue from last year. So here's an indicator. If there's old-timey piano music playing... that means it's a clip from last year. Don't be confused. So here's a clip from last year, of course.
Pal World will be the biggest gun game this year, quote unquote.
The biggest
games with guns. I feel like shooters are going out the window, and this is going to be the peak popularity and interest from people.
Call of Duty.
So over Call of Duty, It would get shooter of the year from
reception-wise, not sales. Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know. You don't.
It cut off the part that was the last one I did where it was
no,
I'm out.
Check the tape. It was the first, actually. It turns out Call of Duty Black Ops 6 pretty huge game and well received last year. But you know what, Jeff? We all peter out at the end. It's all right, man.
Also, we fully stopped talking about Pal World up until after the 2 week after its launch, and then when the lawsuit popped up, that was the last time we talked about Pal World.
It was popular-ish.
It remained popular.
I will say it was more popular than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Like
player count
too many to count, Jeff.
That's right. Too many to count.
Can't do it.
That big Balatro number of players.
Let's see. Here's our prediction from last year. Let's take a listen to this.
Will Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's tagline of "The world will be saved, but will you?" make sense once we finish the game?
If anything makes sense, it will be that tagline. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've poured my life into that game, and I still don't understand what that tagline means after all of Rebirth. So,
This is fun because the piano starts, and then you're like, whose voice is going to come up?
Right. Who's going to get hit? Let's see. Okay, so on the list of things we got wrong, you might be interested. Kyle said Tears of the Kingdom will get a bizarre update, but it won't be DLC. Did not happen. I said that there will be a Resident Evil roguelike Mercenaries game announced. Incorrect. Kyle, you had the great prediction of Ember Labs will be working on a licensed game. They'll announce a licensed game. Yeah, it did not happen. Jeff,
still don't know what they're doing, right?
No. I can see that though. Still, this is the
free extra prediction.
There's so many of those where it's like, God, we were just a couple years off. I remember Jeff in like 2021. He's like, AI will have a big impact on video games, and we all laughed at his face. And then I think like, 2023, Janet, you're like, Sony's going to have a colossal multiplayer flop. Turns out you were just 1 year off with Concord. You were so close. I think in 2023, I predicted Shu was going to be leaving PlayStation. Everybody's just a little bit off for all this stuff. Jeff, you predicted that there will be a AAA cozy game in 2024. Not really. We got AA is maybe the
Tales
highest.
of the Shire out?
No.
Yeah.
No. You call that AAA? I don't think so.
No.
Let's see. Janet, you predicted that Sony Ben's new game will be revealed. You didn't predict that it would be canceled. So that's something. You predicted that
Days Gone is getting a remaster. That's
something, right?
Yeah, but that was this year it got revealed though. So
I can't count it. Yeah, Janet, you had the great prediction of Fortnite will make like a Phasmophobia or a Lethal Company. That did not happen as far as I know.
Why have they done that?
It's right there. Janet,
free money.
You again had the great prediction. AAA game coming to Apple Vision Pro. No go. I predicted that Jeff Keighley won't host the Game Awards. He split it, right? He split hosting duties, but that's not really. I don't think
this year. No,
fully hosted.
He totally hosted that. Yeah, SGF he was a little bit more split. I think.
it? Are you sure?
Yeah, totally him. Except for the opening.
I could have sworn. Check the tape. Anyways, Jeff, you said that Starfield will be fully redeemed, player count higher than ever. It'll be like the cyberpunk moment for Starfield. I don't think so. The expansion was not very well received. I screamed to the high heavens that there's going to be a remake of Plants vs. Zombies 1. That did not happen, and EA is an idiot. I predicted that Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty movies would be announced. Somehow that did not happen last year. Jeff, you confidently predicted that Hades 2 will be in the 210s for 2024. Incorrect, but I'm sure it'll be there this year. Janet, you had an interesting prediction here. It's debatable. Let's see.
Dragon's Dogma 2 becomes the quote-unquote niche GOTY pick. I think the GOTY thing will be Rebirth and Infinite Wealth as like the top two conversations, and then off to the side, like the stuff people throw out that isn't like quote-unquote obvious. I think that might be in there.
Lost Crown will be in there, maybe.
Unfortunately, I don't think Lost Crown will be in there, but I love that game. It's on the tape.
There you go.
Giant Bomb's game of the year.
It was.
Right?
I think Lost Crown was more in the GOTY conversation than Dragon's Dogma 2, which is interesting.
Well, but Janet's prediction was niche game. It was a right.
I think it was almost there. I don't think it was right on that border. Janet, would you say that's a success? Did it hit the niche GOTY contender?
Obviously, I am biased because I would say it did. It wasn't like, as big as maybe I thought it might be. But I definitely know that, as I thought, like the weirdos came out for Dragon's Dogma 2. But I don't think they didn't stand as firmly as I thought they would. Exactly. I was kind of let down by the weirdos a little bit. But I think I would count it because I think enough people had talked about it. But I'm also me. Is someone who's not me, can someone who isn't me agree with me?
I think you're right. I think you're right. It's the weirdos, their fault for not stepping up to the plate and fighting for what they believed in.
Did any of us predict that a rogue poker game would be a real contender for
all
Game
of us?
the Year?
It was so obvious that I didn't even include it, but we all said that repeatedly. Yeah.
What are we considering niche? Because it's like Balatro and 1,000 Times Resist ended up being like main GOTY picks for people.
Yeah.
So
let's see. This one, we did a rapid fire. We're going to get to a rapid fire again this year. I thought this was an interesting one in retrospect that made me think. Without spoilers, here we go.
Jeff, will the most fantastical enemies in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle be fun to fight?
they will be as fun as every other enemy is to fight in the game.
The most fantastical enemy.
I think he nailed it, kind of.
I think he kind of did. There's one like fantastical-ish boss that's in the water that is not fun to fight. For the most part, not fun to dodge, I guess. But by and large, like the big guys in that game are kind of the same level, I think. Yeah.
Flex.
Out of all the predictions last year, I think Janet won for like the boldest swing that was correct. This was her take here.
There is no new Nintendo console, is my prediction.
Whoa.
2024.
Okay.
Not even announce it?
That my prediction is that there's just not.
It's
one
not
out.
released.
Okay, I'll kick it
Let's
off.
get out of the way. Nintendo Switch 2.
Then we get into coming up with guessing what the name will be for the Nintendo console. But Janet, this in January, February of 2024, saying there was not going to be a Switch 2 announced was absurd. Like that was just such a lock that was coming last year. And so that I think is the most correct, biggest swing. But then we get into the naming stuff, which is fun. Here we go.
Switch 2. That's like obviously an option.
It's an option. Do you think it's likely?
Numerical 2?
Likely I would say no because they've never done a numerical.
Right. It will be called the Nintendo Feather.
How about the Switch Flip?
It's good.
And you got another
that. I
screen
like
that
that.
flips
I
up.
like that a lot. I think it's going to be a super conservative upgrade. I think it's going to be a light gimmick that, again, is maybe forgotten.
There we go. So our Switch predictions were all over the place, but overall,
Jeff, it should have been the flip grip.
Yeah.
Switch
Nintendo-
flip.
yeah.
Whatever you
Nintendo
say.
Flip. It's really good.
Flip.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kyle, you said that it's more likely to be called the Super Switch than the Switch 2. You said at a certain point. Jeffem guessed for 2024 that Switch 2 sales would surpass the Switch 1 sales. I guess that the Switch 2 gimmick would already be forgotten. What a stupid idea. I guess there'd be the Wii U level of confusion for the Switch 2 when it released. I don't know if that's going to happen still. I guess no Mario Kart 9 at launch. That was dumb on several fronts. Let's see. Kyle, you guess Metroid Prime 4 would be releasing in 2024. I guess the Metroid Prime 4 would not be on the Switch 2. Which is technically correct in 2024. It wasn't released on the Switch 2, so I guess that's a big win for me in every way.
Okay.
Oh boy, that is all the stuff that we predicted. Although we got some things right. Let's see. Of course, the most important thing that we got right is last year when Kyle was giving his prediction, I played the piano music live under the recording as we were recording that podcast episode, so it made it seem like an old prediction. And then I said on the podcast, quote, I promise it'll make me laugh next year. And when I went back and listened to that episode again, that did make me laugh. But it's a very editing joke.
Got that one right. You got that one
Yeah. Let's see. Kyle, you guessed that Ghost of Tsushima 2 would be announced. Correct. You predicted there'd be a flying device in the reveal trailer. Not quite, but not bad. You said that Naughty Dog's going to announce something that's not Last of Us Part 3, but they'd already said that, so we called you a coward, so that wasn't really a great prediction. Then Kyle said that Naughty Dog's going to announce, let's see. I said that there'll be the trailer for the new Naughty Dog game, and I guess it was going to be a stylized sci-fi game, flying over the environment of one planet and then a shadowy protagonist at the end. The sci-fi thing, but outside of that, the trailer, it's not really a flyover of a planet. I guess there'd be layoffs at Rocksteady. Way to go, me. Jeff, you guessed that Embracer was going to continue to implode and that they'd sell off Gearbox and Asmodee. They sold off Gearbox. Not bad.
They split Asmodee into their own company and loaded them up with debt. So
Correct.
Kind of feel like half point on that.
Half point. Yeah, I guess that the Borderlands movie was going to tank so bad that it would make people rethink video game adaptations. It tanked hard, but I still think it's still idiots in Hollywood being like, there's gold in them video games. I don't think it gave anybody pause for a damn second.
It made audiences rethink them.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So there you go.
I guess that Splitgate was going to return and was going to dominate. We got the trailer for Splitgate 2, but that's kind of TBD. I don't think it's going to.
It was no Pal World.
It was no Pal
as far
World.
as shooters go.
In the rapid fire, Jeff, you predicted that Stellar Blade 2, people would remember it other than Jacob Geller at the end of the year during GOTY season. And I think that's true. I think people other than Jacob Geller were given a nod to Stellar Blade 2 there. Kyle, you predicted that I would like the property Sandland, but I wouldn't like the game. And that was exactly correct. That's exactly where we landed up on Sandland, our favorite. Though, you know the only thing better than predictions, Jeffem?
What's that?
I would say personally, eating food. And you know what's better than eating food?
Nothing.
That's right. That's why HelloFresh is there for you, everybody. With HelloFresh, you get pre-portioned, farm-fresh ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your dang doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. I can't choose between those three. And that's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. If you're tired of figuring out what's for dinner, Kyle, just debating with your family, should I cook this or should I cook this? You just got this delivered right to your doorstep in a handy bag. You don't need to separate the ingredients 6 ways to Sunday. It's all just right there, ready to go. Rip it open, get cooking. It's easy to find time to eat well with 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from, each week delivered right to your dang door. Their lineup of prep and bake meals come together with minimal mess, only 5 minutes of prep, they say, so your oven does most of your work, not you. And you can get up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life, good Lord, at HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. There's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. HelloFresh, awesome. Their smash burgers, truly, I cannot imagine creating a tastier burger at home than the HelloFresh Smash Burger. It's so good. It's such a good cheeseburger. So we love this sponsor. Check them out. Go to HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast, and there's a link below. We'd love if you use it because we'd love to keep them around because I do think they are quite good. Not as good as our predictions, however. We have some predictions, and we can go from most cowardly to boldest. How many predictions do y'all have overall?
3 plus Ember Labs working on licensing.
Okay, good.
I mostly have the 3, maybe like 1 or 2 stragglers. Maybe I'll come up with something on the fly.
I will say,
I was told to bring 3.
Yeah. I know. It's so tough to restrain yourself on this topic, but since we've been kind of boiling on this for a while, now I'm not asking for points, but I do want to point out that before the Nintendo Switch to mouse stuff was rumored.
Here we go.
Yeah, before it was even rumored, I had as a prediction that there's going to be like a Mario Paint style game packed into the system.
Oh, I think that's fine. You could throw that. I
mean,
totally
I'm not going to count it.
I thought you were going to say I wrote down Nintendo Switch 2 reveal on this day. You know what I mean?
Like, no.
I just had that right.
No,
I think that's a totally valid prediction.
Okay, thank you. And also want the record to show that I wrote down new Echo the Dolphin game announced, and then the next week a news story popped up. It's like, oh, they're refiling the trademarks for Echo the Dolphin. It's like, oh, damn it. I was going to seem like a genius maybe, but Haley tells us as the IP lawyer, maybe that doesn't mean as much as you think it does.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to go first with the most cowardly ass prediction?
I'll go first as a coward.
You always do.
GTA 6, 2026.
Okay.
Just slips out of this year.
It's like cowardly.
I don't. Yeah, they've really been doubling down on messaging. And Take-Two's like, it's coming. Everybody, shareholders, hang on, it's coming. Like if
you're in line for GTA, stay in line. Yeah, I think I think it's actually a pretty bold prediction because I've thought about that. I'm like, I don't want to touch that. There's no way it's getting delayed. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought it, and then I was like, I would be an idiot to say this out loud on a podcast.
Yeah, I think so. Here's a cowardly one. I never want to go full coward. It's not my style. I'm not like the Kyle Hilliard type. But Pokemon Legends ZA, not on Switch 2. You can play it on Switch 2 with backwards compatibility, but it's not going to have a Switch 2 version. It's going to run like trash. That's my prediction.
After the last one, whose name I can't even remember,
Scarlet and Violet,
running so poorly, I think they recognize that they can't release a Pokemon game running poorly like that. Like, at least in the short term.
I hope so. It was so bad.
Better than that, at least. I mean, right.
Certainly better than that.
Pokemon games are never great, but that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like my daughter didn't want to play it. Like she's like, I heard it didn't run well. I don't want to play Pokemon. And I don't think she's alone,
Yeah.
No, I didn't play it. I didn't finish it for that reason. I was like, this thing is not good. It's like playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm like, this is what Ben thinks all these Pokemon games are. That's what I felt like I was playing.
I'm a Pokemon fan. Where did this come up that I don't like Pokemon games? I've played.
I feel like whenever we talk about it, you're like, been there, done that. What are they really doing?
Strongly disagree.
Too easy.
Yeah, no. We did the deepest dive on Legends. I've beat every mainline game except for Black and White. Give me some Pokemon credit, man.
I don't know, but but that's like the biggest Pokemon thing that all Pokemon fans hate Pokemon though. So it's kind of like you're in that weird.
We just want better for Pokemon.
Middle part.
It's a child that has a lot more potential.
He's a true fan who's like, I can't stand this. Of course, I love it.
I play everyone.
I played everyone.
Beat it, but
why did you think I didn't like it? Is it because I talk about how I don't think it's very good?
Are you gonna
finish it?
I think it's just you think that because Sword and Shield you were hotter on than I was. So I think I sandbagged Sword and Shield a little bit, and that got that in your mind. Yeah.
You also just said we just want better than Pokemon.
Then Scarlet and Violet, absolutely. Good Lord, I hope we deserve better than that. But Janet, please, prediction.
Yeah, my most cowardly one is Luka Doncic comes to Fortnite. Huge trade for the NBA, big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of the next one up, and I'm like, he's not. I had to Google, was he in there yet? Well, he's going in there. He'll be in there.
Are there a lot of athletes
this year
in Fortnite?
Yeah, Messi's in Fortnite. I think.
LeBron
I want to say LeBron is in Fortnite. Chat, if you know anybody who's in Fortnite that's an athlete, drop it in there. But yeah, there definitely has like an athlete history to it.
Quadrant, love it.
That's my whack pick.
Jeffem, what's your wackest pick? Least whack pick in some ways.
I don't have any whack picks. I'm hitting
There's
for the
always
moon every time. This one's half whack. I'll give you a half whack one. Night Rain, Elder Ring, Night Rain, not going to be popular.
What does popular mean?
It'll sell okay, but it's going to be like major disappointment compared to actual Elden Ring.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I feel like is already there.
I'm not excited for it.
Yeah, so the other half of that, which makes it completely invalid, is From Software is going to come out after that and be like Bloodborne 2 finally coming. That'll be their follow-up.
There was just a news story that popped up that they didn't really like working with Sony, right? Like, did you see that?
I didn't see that.
It, Kyle.
Like
you can bring that up next episode when it's not going to make me look like an idiot.
Like the reason that Dark Souls is published by Bandai Namco is because they didn't like the experience of working with Sony for Demon's Souls.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But then
there's no other reason there's not a Bloodborne 2 yet, other than that they hate Sony and it will never happen. But now it has to happen because we've said it on this episode.
They did make Bloodborne, so like. They
and
must
also,
have,
it's kind of frustrating. Like I saw those headlines go around from the Shuhei interview, I think on Kind of Funny, where they asked him why isn't there a Bloodborne 2, and he's like, well, I think it's just like Precious and they're busy and, I don't think he wants to go into the past. And it's like, well, they did, Demon's Souls remake. Like, yeah, they're busy, but there's no reason that they couldn't also outsource Bloodborne. It's not like Bloodborne's more precious than Demon's Souls. I mean, Demon's Souls is kind of Miyazaki's baby in a lot of ways.
He has said that he's like really fond of that world, right? Like that was like, right? I feel like I've heard that at some point. Like,
I'm sure.
Like that was the one that's most precious to him. But, I don't know. What am I going off of, really?
Jeff, when you say it's like not going to be, like people are going to be like kind of let down by it, you want to take a stab at that Metacritic?
Yeah.
Because let down in FromSoft standards, it's got to be still fairly high, I imagine, is what you're thinking. But I'm curious what would count for that for you.
Let's go low and say 75.
Whoa!
No way! Jeff, no, absolutely not. No.
I think the lowest is going to 85.
I could sit here. Maybe. I could sit here and I could be a coward and we could say things that we know are going to happen. Okay, there's going to be a ton of layoffs this year. There we go. I'll look like a genius next year when we play that back.
Let's see how long did it take to get mad Jeff from here? Like 20 minutes?
It's pretty impressive.
Longer than usual.
Yeah.
No, did not disappoint. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Jenny, you got one? You want to keep rolling?
Oh, yeah. Sure. New Donkey Kong Country game.
Donkey Kong Country specifically?
Yeah, because I double-checked, Tropical Freeze is a country game.
It is a country game.
I think they've been queuing up for it. They're building the little Donkey Kong area. Nike's just doing a Donkey Kong shoe collab, apparently. The writing is on the wall. They had that... Oh, God, Kyle, what was that game? Was it a remaster?
Returns
HD?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a remaster.
I also think they're
had a remaster.
I hear they're
queuing up.
They're queuing up for Donkey Kong. I think it's going to be Donkey Kong in a 3D platformer with Mario on Switch 2. And just because I'm not a coward, I'm not scared of y'all. My bold prediction, at some point in the game, Mario will ride on Donkey Kong. in this 3D platformer.
Oh my god, I'm like, that's like a sickening thought.
All right.
I think it's fun and erotic.
I got one. Are we going around the horn here?
Yeah, of course.
Metroid Prime 4 will get the Twilight Princess Breath of the Wild treatment, where it will be a Switch 2 title, but they will keep their promise for it being available on Switch 1, but the better version will be on Switch 2. It will be a proper Switch 2 game with a Switch 2 box.
Okay. I disagree, but to each their own. That's what predictions are all for. Jeffem, wow us, dude.
No, this is a depressing one. But I think AC Shadows is going to underperform, and then Ubisoft is going to go through hostile takeover and or like sell off studios.
So Ubisoft will implode by the end of the year.
Bad year for Ubisoft, yeah.
Worst year ever for Ubisoft, I think, is probably a very fair prediction, yeah. Hey, on the good side, I predict EA will release SSX HD. SSX Original Trilogy.
I hope so.
HD. Wouldn't that be lovely? That'd
Johnny
be my bold
Carson
prediction.
reference?
For the kids.
That'll bring the kids in, yeah.
Janet?
Yeah, my big one is Nintendo releases a keyboard and brings back Mario typing.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So a mouse and
There's
a keyboard.
Pokemon typing game as well for DS.
Yeah. They're like, we got this. This is our like weird peripheral, our side game. It's like, who needs this? Kind of no one. But then people were like, well, they love families. And then, I don't know, it won't get Family Game of the Year for some reason, even though it's probably the only family game on the list.
Right.
But yeah, that's what they're going to do.
And
They got the mouse, they'll add the keyboard.
They love like a
Yeah.
weird little peripheral. So I was trying to think what it would be. Maybe the keyboard is too sensical
It is.
compared to the Ring and the Labo and the VR thing you put. That's also the Labo.
But I think Nintendo accidentally just remaking the PC sounds like a Nintendo move.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Nintendo,
Like your Switch is just going to end up being a PC.
but they'll be like, we have a Nintendo-like solution to the keyboard, and they just rearrange the keys QWERTY style. It's just like,
Yeah, they're like,
we
it's
optimized
alphabetical
it.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is it alphabetical?
It's so kids can learn.
There is a better layout for
There is.
keys, right? Like the reason we have the ASDF is because of typewriter jamming.
Right,
They wanted
right.
to separate keys, but there actually is a better setup, but there's no way we could adapt it now. It's too late.
It's too late. Here's my prediction, Janet. I think, because there's a USB port on the top of the Switch 2, which is odd, right? I think there's going to be released in 2025 a new Game Boy camera equivalent, the Switch camera. And you can like dock it right on top like that. And then that,
Webcam?
yep, and then that interacts
Yeah, they're
with...
making a VC and no one's stopping them.
They can bring back
They're
that
going to
Mario.
sell a
Hey,
standalone stand that's just going to turn the Switch 2 into a monitor, and then you're going to plug all this shit in and have to sit at a desk to play it.
Love it.
here's my boldest. This is it. 2025. Mother 3.
Mother 3.
Finally happening.
This is
It's going to be probably like with the Switch 2, like Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Online stuff, right? But we'll finally get to play Mother 3 properly, officially on a Nintendo platform.
Any other consoles coming to Nintendo Switch Online with Switch 2?
Well, what's GameCube, right? Is like the
Do you think it's
potential,
happening?
Right? That's what's missing, really,
Yeah.
at this point, right?
And do you think it's happening?
Yes, I do. I have a buddy who like texts me every time Nintendo makes an announcement, mad that they that he can't play GameCube games on his Switch.
And they've
So
been
Aaron,
listening
my
to
buddy
that guy.
Aaron,
Yep.
you'll text me something
They're like,
nice
we-
finally.
We got to make Aaron happy.
Gotta make Aaron happy.
Here's a cowardly one. Nagoshi Studio, the Yakuza creator who went to NetEase, they will reveal their new game at SGF. We're going to see the new game from the creator of Yakuza. Oh.
I gaslit myself with this one. I swear to God, last year I said that an indie was going to be like a Game of the Year pick.
Maybe
and
that
I
was
was
the
waiting for
previous
that
year.
to come up, and apparently I never said it. So I'm going to say that it's going to continue. Indie domination is going to continue this year. Big Game of the Year pick for multiple outlets will be some kind of crazy bilateral, like not in terms of genre, but that kind of out there
scale.
indie pick.
Would you
Yeah.
do you count like Hades too as like
No.
that? For that? Okay.
No.
Really? Not counting Yakuza Studio as an indie game?
They're
It
indie
does,
though, right?
it
Yeah,
does,
they're
but
indie.
it's not
They're,
weird
like,
enough.
independently
It's not
Yeah,
like
I get what you
out
mean.
there enough.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, like if Silk Song comes out, you're like, that doesn't count for what you're getting at, I think is
Yeah.
Is that what?
Something
You're really taking the legs out from under me, but sure.
The quick walk back? I mean, you put yourself in the
fine.
corner, and I'm like,
I'll
this
go
is your
for it.
quarter, right? And you're like, whoa, why don't put that on me?
If it's not Balatro level or weirder, then you can call me a fool.
And I will. I look forward to it.
And we all will.
We see Wolverine again, like another Wolverine trailer. I don't think we get the game this year.
Okay.
But I think we get something a little bit more substantial. We can stop saying, hey, what do we think the game's going to be?
Yep.
Do you think he's on his motorcycle? Like, I'm tired of talking about that. We're going to have real answers that aren't just cinematically watching him drink.
But it looks so good. Let's see. Enhanced games, Tetris Effect, all those folks. They will release a game in 2025. And not only that, Jeffem, it'll be number 17 on the 210s. That's my prediction.
Wow.
Gotta get specific.
Now
it's
we
more
have
fun.
To make it happen.
Okay, now, exactly. It's like, okay.
Finger on the scales. I promise I'll forget this. Also, did you hear about this? At the Game Awards for 2025, a new 3D Castlevania game was announced and revealed, inspired by the Souls series.
And I was happy about it.
And Kyle
I was excited for
loved
that.
it. That's right.
Was the Mercury Steam involved?
Who can say? I don't think so.
I have one that was adjacent to Janet's in the that is, I think, one of the big Marvel games is going to get canceled. I think Disney's going to start feeling antsy and a little worried that all their property, they're spending too much on all these Marvel and Star Wars properties, and they're just going to start lopping off heads.
Like one that's already been announced, like the Captain America Black Panther game.
That's so far along. I think it's between Black Panther and Iron Man for.
Well, Jeff did say Marvel game vaguely. He didn't specify, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Infamous remaster 1 and 2.
Ooh, very
Not
good.
Second Son, but the first two Infamous games playable on PlayStation 5 this year.
Yep, I think that's a good one. Ed Boon leaves NetherRealm. Mortal Kombat co-creator steps down finally. He's had enough
Retires,
of Warner Brothers.
Right? Goes to hang out with Ted.
He goes to the NetherRealm. Was it not clear?
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he leaves NetherRealm to enter the NetherRealm. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying as opposed to like, I'm going to go start up a new studio or something.
I think
he's just...
yes.
Okay.
Does he also get punched into a spike pit?
He does. Yeah, that's the honorary way they do it. Yeah.
And is part of your prediction that he will do an exit interview with MinnMax?
God, I hope so. God, can you imagine the thrill?
We'll say it, and then it has to happen.
Yes, we talked to Ed Boon this year.
Great.
Okay.
I'm gonna predict, because it's gonna happen. Nintendo creates a new Mario themed sports game. Ooh. And it's going to be Mario Bowling.
Oh, okay. So it's like taking Wii bowling and like really spinning it out. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
They're going to go more trendy, like Mario Pickleball or something.
Oh, that's yeah.
Ooh, and can you imagine the thrill that we'll feel in our bones and guts when we bowl, but it's like a wiggler, and so you're bowling like 10 balls at once, but they're all individual parts of a wiggler going down the lane? That's really good.
That's good.
Well, how about this? Nintendo will announce a Splatoon animated series.
Cool. They got a manga already, I believe.
They're halfway there.
I was going to ask, does Nintendo have like a current animated presence outside of that movie? They did?
No, but they opened up that like Nintendo Pictures animation house or something. They haven't announced what they're doing.
Shorts.
That's right.
Miyamoto directed some animated Pikmin shorts.
That's right. It's huge.
We all watched them.
I think the Gears game E-Day comes out.
Boo! They said 2025. Coward! Get her! Coward!
Whoa! I googled it. I swear, I googled it last night in bed before I went to sleep. That's when I did this assignment.
Right. Yeah, maybe they weren't.
We all did this assignment.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like turned over. I'm like, hey, what do you think's gonna happen this year?
Let's see. This is a bold take. Dreamhaven, that studio publisher from former Blizzard folks. They have a studio called Secret Door, and they're making a game called Sunderfolk. Have you seen this, Jeffem? They say it's coming out this year, and it's a turn-based tactics, tabletop-inspired game, but the catch is everybody can play with their phones, kind of like in a PlayLink style way. And my prediction is that game will be a surprise hit. Sunderfolk will be like freaking awesome. People are into it.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to predict it won't be.
Damn it. Oh, safe and steady, Jeffem. Anybody else got one?
Microsoft will announce the new Halo coming.
Okay, cool.
We'll be done with one of their Halo shows or whatever their shows are. Xbox Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll hear
You're dreaming. There's no universe.
and then there'll
that
be
happens.
a reflection on a helmet, and then they won't say anything for another 5 years.
This is like an Elder Scrolls 6 style tease.
They are technically working on something. Okay, all right, sure.
Did I say officially Ember Lab's working on a licensed game? Did I say that officially?
Yeah, okay, cool. Carry over, buddy. All right, rapid fire predictions. You ready for these?
Yeah.
Buckle up. They're coming fast. Kyle, what happens when you press the C button on the Switch 2?
Wait, it's not the screenshot button?
No, there's a mysterious
separate
C button. What happens when you press that
it
button?
turns on the mouse. It activates the mouse.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Smart.
Jeffem, predict the Switch 2 launch lineup. Will Elden Ring be there at launch?
No.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
No.
Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4.
No.
I think that's a good guess. Breath of the Wild Remaster.
No.
UFO 50.
Yes.
Hades 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Janet, how many times will GTA 6 make you laugh? Not from the gameplay of oh, my car got stuck, but narrative or in-world joke. How many times will GTA 6 make you laugh out loud?
4.
4 times. Great. Kyle, GTA 6 multiplayer at launch?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeffem, GTA 6, $70?
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle, can you, and pardon my French, in GTA 6, can you instigate making love to the other playable character? Is there an interactive element to that in any way?
The hot coffee, yeah.
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Will there be a cutscene, sex scene in GTA 6?
Yes. There will be narrative, right? Narratively that will happen, but you can't instigate it as the player.
And scale of 1 to 10, how graphic is it?
Like a 6.
Okay. I'm thinking Terminator 1 level sex scene.
There will be nudity, but not it'll be tasteful.
Okay.
It'll play the same Terminator song over it.
The love theme, that'd be great. Janet, the playable characters in GTA 6, how many are dead by the end of the game? 0, 1, or 2?
0.
0. Okay, so it's not like a Romeo and Juliet thing? I think it could be a Romeo and Juliet thing.
They got to kill him in DLC later. That's how they like to
smart. Yeah. Let's see. Jeffem, do we currently know our game of the year? Has it been announced?
Has it been
MinnMax?
announced?
Yeah.
No.
Correct. I feel that way too. I feel like we have no idea. Kyle, the Oblivion remake, assuming it gets announced, Toddy happy?
Yeah, he's ecstatic. He's presenting it.
Does it have more Steam reviews than Starfield at the end of the year?
It does. Sorry, Bethesda.
Let's see. Janet, will there be a lighthouse in the reveal trailer for the new BioShock game?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Jeffem, who wins the year in terms of first-party games? Obviously Nintendo, but for second place, Xbox or PlayStation?
The fact that one has stuff coming out and one doesn't, and you're still thinking about it, is the most damning review of Xbox's
One
situation
has a
in
new
the
Naughty
marketplace
Dog game.
that I've ever heard.
Yeah, let's say Xbox. Let's.
I kind of lean on Xbox for first-party stuff. I think Fable is going to be good this year. I'm hoping it does.
Could be.
Let's see. Kyle, will we hear a single peep about Project Robot from Fumito Ueda? Will there be a headline about Project Robot?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's see. Jeffem, the only reason to make a Skate game in 2025 is for a feel-good win. At the end of 2025, is Skate from EA a feel-good win?
For Leo, yes.
No.
Yeah,
don't
keep
be
in
a
mind
coward.
there is a rumored Tony Hawk remaster where the professional skater recently said that they are working on another remaster.
Hopefully probably 3 and 4. So no?
No, they'll screw it up somehow.
Okay. Kyle, how many games in MinnMax's upper 10 for the 210s will feature a ninja?
3. No, 2.
Okay. Kyle, will we see Sakurai's face in a Nintendo Direct in 2025?
Yeah.
Okay. Janet, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Will it make Kelsey's top 10?
Oh, yes.
Wow. Jeffem, will Haley get into Marathon from Bungie?
Yeah.
Kyle, Tactics or 9 Fans Rejoice? If you have to choose. Tactics or 9?
Tactics. 9.
Okay. Let's see, Jeff. How many major gaming sites will go down in flames in 2025?
I'm gonna say none.
Wow. Okay. Bold.
'Cause what's left? Polygon and PC Gamer.
Yeah, the two kings.
They're doing pretty good, I think.
All right. Janet, is the mom going to be dead in South of Midnight?
Oh, let me think. This wasn't in the preview, unsurprisingly.
Is she truly dead?
Is the mom going to be dead? I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Kyle, the aliens in Perfect Dark. Aliens in Perfect Dark, over-designed or under-designed?
Under-designed.
Okay.
Maybe not even present.
Okay.
They weren't in 0, right?
Nope. It was a prequel. Okay. Andor fans, Kyle, are they going to grab on to Star Wars Eclipse and be like, no, this is good Star Wars, actually?
Yeah.
It'll get the Andor rub off, you think?
Yeah. Okay. It'll be like weirdly, that game will be like weirdly played by a lot of people.
Wow. Jeffem, what's selling more in the year 2025? The new Mario Kart or the new Call of Duty?
Jeff? Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
Wow. Answer, yes.
All right.
I'd go Call of Duty.
Janet, will Haley see the Until Dawn movie in theaters?
Yes.
And she gives it 2 thumbs up?
Out.
I think it's coming out.
No, she'll like it, but I don't think she'll think it's very good.
Okay.
Which is kind of
Haley
what
style.
It's like to be a super massive fan.
Right.
I like the director. He's a good director.
Okay. Let's see. Who's the director again?
I can't remember his name, but his brother made Iconoclasts.
Dumb.
What's his name? He did the Shazam movies.
Jeffem, Haven Studios, developer of Fair Games, are they still standing at the end of 2025? Does that studio still exist?
Fair Games?
Okay, that's almost an answer in and of itself. Okay. Let's see. Kyle, they're making a Star Wars tactics game, right? Bit Reactors in the studio. They're working with Respawn on it. Is it going to be through the lens of some hologram chess thing? Of like opening cutscene, like zooming in, and it's like, this is inside the world. This is actually what it looks like.
David F. Sandberg, no.
Okay. Janet, Cory Barlog's new game from Sony Santa Monica. Will we see it, and is it a new IP?
No, we won't see it, and yes, it's a new IP.
Okay. Jeffem.
If you don't see a new IP, that was not right.
Correct. Jeffem, Wolverine from Insomniac, their launch trailer. How many other X-Men will be in the launch trailer for Wolverine?
Teasing one.
Wow. Like just some metal moves in the background. Okay, cool.
Someone drinking.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, all the X-Men are just drinking. Kyle, Gears of War E-Day. How long until you can play as Dom and Marcus in co-op?
You can play in co-op immediately.
Like they start out knowing each other immediately?
Or rather, I mean, there's co-op immediately.
There's co-op immediately.
You can't not play Gears of War co-op.
I understand that. I just think it's going to be some other character that then dies, and then they're going to meet each other, right?
Oh, I guess pretty quick. Like first 3 hours.
3 hours. That'd be a long time. I'm guessing 40 minutes is the point where you got Dom and Marcus. Let's see, Jeff, on scale of 1 to 10, how much of a departure is Media Molecule's next game?
Departure from what?
Everything Media Molecule has made.
It's gonna be. You're gonna see it and be like, "Yep, that's a Media Molecule game."
So 2.
So none.
0.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's 2025, everybody. There's no reason to
or
even...
2026, depending on our track record.
I mean, it probably is, yeah. All right, let us know your predictions in the comments below. Let us know the studios that are ready to pop. My favorite thing, it's kind of fun to try and do that math of like, who are ready to go? Like the biggest mystery, I think, is the Mario Odyssey team. I think that's number one game industry mystery for it now of like, what could they possibly be working on? But there's a ton of smaller studios, which are fascinating. Like the Death's Door developers, we don't know what they're working on. Turtle Rock, curious about them. Grasshopper, developers of Stray, Tunic's developer, Tinykins developer, That's the Moon, Playdad, Bluepoint. Well, I guess they just got scrapped, so maybe we won't learn that for a while. Young Horses, next Bugsnax game. We don't know anything about that. Subset Games, Into the Breach developers. Giant Sparrow, presumably they're still working on something after Edith Finch, even though I think there's kind of been a diaspora for that game development talent. But there we go. Kyle, you and other folks have been playing Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This whole game. We're going to be talking about it more with Kelsey and Sarah and folks next week. But high level, what do you think about the new standalone Yakuza game here?
I like it quite a bit. It totally derailed my Avowed playthrough, which is a compliment. You know, it's not a slight against Avowed, but it was like when I had both of them in front of me, Pirate Yakuza was the one that I like totally grabbed my attention. I want to keep going with it. I'm in a weird position with Yakuza because I played The Man Who Erased His Name.
Yeah.
And I watched my wife play a lot of 7, and then I played 8. So I actually don't really know Majima. I know he's a popular character, but I just don't know him or who he is. So this is like perfect. It's like this game was like made for me in a way because it's like he has amnesia. So it's like I get to kind of
So he doesn't know either.
He like genuinely, like that's the plot of the game. And it's fun. It's a little redundant because I am exploring Hawaii again and I'm doing a lot of the same things I did in Hawaii, but like boat combat is like surprisingly fun. And like it's maybe the silliest of all the Yakuzas I've played, like which is kind of a high bar, but it is like goofy as hell. Because it's like within the first hour, you've like commandeered a pirate ship and you've in charge and like you have a pet tiger and like a kid that you're just like taking care of. And like it's really bizarre and fun. You have like a zoo that you like send animals to and stuff. So like I'm having a good time with it. It's a game that like, you know, when you're playing the way we play games, we kind of start a lot of different games and then we're like, I don't know if I'm actually going to finish this one. This is the one that I'm locked into. I'm like 15 or 16 hours in. I'm going to see it to the end. I'm having a good time with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've played a little so far. I also don't really know Majima at all. And I've been more of a fan of the turn-based ones. So I was I went into this one being like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. Yeah. But I have really enjoyed the combat so far, which was surprising to me. And yeah, like an hour into it, I think there's a big musical number on the pirate ship.
Perfect.
And I was like, well, this is, you hooked me now. Like it's a full Broadway, like we're going to go out and see the world and like everybody's dancing to it. It was the most absurd. I just sat there and I was like, okay, well, you've won me over, Yakuza. Good job.
Yeah, so Kelsey and Jacob, they voiced their feedback a little bit of, they said, hey, we'll talk about more next week, but they said it's a very fun game and that it's bigger than you think it's going to be, was kind of the takeaway. It's like you think, it seems like this is even bigger than kind of The Man Who Erased His Name level of thing, which is kind of what I was expecting here. Yeah, it is unbelievable how many games the studio cranks out. Like it's a weird case of like, if you're hungry for more Like a Dragon, it's awesome to see this whole new game, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. At the same time, my biggest pile of shame is that I still haven't finished Infinite Wealth. You know, and so it's like it seems cool. I started it, but at the same time, it's like I can't get sucked into this one. There's still the quote unquote more important one to check out and stuff.
It also quickly we were talking more about it later, but we expressed some disappointment with the conclusion of Infinite Wealth, like in our 210s and stuff like this. This does, more than I expected, pick up right where that game left off, and even answers a few questions that I had at the end. Like
that's
huge.
It's
not its primary sort of directive, right? It's a fun pirate story with Majima, but like there's plot stuff that I was like, oh yeah, I was wondering what the deal with that was in Infinite Wealth that they are addressing, which was nice, and I didn't expect that.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah, so we'll talk about it more next week, but that's Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii for the confusing roundabout name situation happening here. Hey Kyle, you know the one thing better than Hawaii?
Some kind of advertisement that you're about to read?
Well, specifically the advertisement for MeUndies, yeah. It's like if you're going on a trip to Hawaii, you can double your enjoyment if you just fill up that suitcase with MeUndies underwear. Truly fantastic. I'm not much of a clothes guy. I wear underwear. I don't like thinking about underwear, but I do think about underwear every morning now when I pull out my little drawer and reach for those MeUndies underwear. Truly, it makes my day better. And it sounds so dopey, but like my underwear was fine. And now if I'm wearing MeUndies underwear, it's like, this is going to be a good day. It feels good on my body. It feels like high quality clothing. It's genuinely a game changer for my morning routine is to get a good pair of underwear. You know what I'm talking about, Jeffem?
Sure.
I'm talking about underwear, man. It's got style for everyone, from all black classics to fun, expressive prints. Me, Jeffem, I'm an expressive kind of guy. I got like snakes and leaves and stuff on them. They're really cool. Come over and check them out.
No.
Okay. Plus, they come in sizes extra small to 4 extra large, guaranteeing a flattering cut for everybody. Versatile loungewear. MeUndies isn't just about underwear. You can explore the lounge collection featuring joggers, hoodies, onesies, and more. Unmatched comfort, and they have a problem-free philosophy. If you're not happy with your first pair of undies, it is on MeUndies. So good things come in big packages. Oh, Jeff, please. At MeUndies, they say get 20% off your first order plus free shipping on orders of $75 or more at MeUndies.com/MinnMax. You can enter the promo code MinnMax. That is MeUndies.com/MinnMax. Code MinnMax for 20% off MeUndies. Comfort from the outside in. I do enjoy MeUndies. It is a good day. And Jeffem, guess what I'm wearing today?
The snakes.
The snakes. That's right, everybody. All right, Kyle, thank you for being here, sir. We'll talk to you later. You want to clap on out, dude?
All right, I'll see you guys. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Leo Vader joins the podcast.
Sorry to scare you.
Welcome. You've been waiting in the wings. Now you're jumping in, and we're honored to have you, dude. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. What would you like to talk about most, Leo? Where were you like, sitting probably back on your couch, stroking a cat, and thinking, I need to jump on a podcast to talk about this?
I hate that.
Yeah, it's not intended that way.
For me, it's what was I in the shower preparing my story about? And
right.
Today, the answer to that question is keep driving.
Okay. I am curious
also way
about this.
better visual somehow, even though you think it's worse. But
I think it's worse.
It's less evocative than what Ben described.
Keep driving. This thing looks up your alley. It's sitting at overwhelmingly positive on Steam. I think it's just on Steam at this point. Is it early access?
I think so.
I think it's just out.
It's just straight up out. Okay.
Yeah.
What is Keep Driving? It looks kind of Oregon Trail-ish.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. It's kind of a menu game. You've got your road map and you're going between places and you're watching cute sprites, your car bouncing along and going through these road events. That it's almost a card battler to get through, but super simplified of how do I negate this durability to my car damage I'm about to take? How do I negate this stress damage that I'm about to take from being stuck behind this slow tractor or whatever? The way they gamify things I've not seen gamified is really cute. You'll get pulled over by a cop and now you have all these threats to your money, and if you don't get rid of them, you'll have to pay him. Huh. It's cute gamification of something I haven't seen gamified, and a ton of ways I'll get into.
Yeah, Jeff, you're checking out Keep Driving too?
Yeah, I was gonna play it for a little bit last night and then switch back to Yakuza, and I ended up playing it all night instead, and then just went to bed.
Okay,
Nice.
The Oregon Trail aspect. It's mainly the perspective. It makes me think of that. Like, okay, you're just rolling around in a car from the side and stuff. That lures me in. But card battling, is this going to scare me away?
That's an overstatement. I think that's just how I define you get skills that you can play and they cost certain things and they do certain things.
Okay.
You're just matching up symbols, basically.
Yeah, it is honestly really reminiscent of Signs of Sojourner in that way. The way that game's a deck builder. This is a card battler, which is to say it's the simplest it can possibly be. It's you're basically just matching shapes. There's it in a sense, not even too much strategy to it. There's a little bit in terms of, what order you're playing or what icons, because you're really just matching icons. A road event, like Leo described, might be, a person icon, a gas icon, a money icon, and they represent energy, money, and your gasoline. And it's if you take damage on that, you lose money or lose gas or what have you, and you're sort of managing just the order that you're doing your car. You can get a perfect hit, but it's not complicated at all. To me, it's much more of a story game, but also a item management game. And it's got that sweet Resident Evil inventory management thing where you're you have the grid and you place things. So it's a lot of the fun of kind of similar in that Oregon Trail vein, Ben, that you mentioned. I think the layer of preparation on an adventure is kind of reminiscent as well, where it's you hit up a gas station. Do you want to fill up gas now, or do you want to wait? Are you investing in what upgrades are you getting to help you make your journey easier? And Jeff, I'm same as you. I started playing this. I originally played the demo some time ago, was into that, got code, but just kind of been sitting on it. Then Leo was like, oh, I'm passionate about this. So I'm like, okay, let me hop on and finally see more of this through. And same deal. It's I feel like you can get a taste, you can get a sense of what this game is very quickly.
Yeah.
10 minutes of gameplay and you know what you're doing. But I played till 1 a.m. last night, even though I got up at 7 for the show today. So I was like, I shouldn't be up. And I'm like, let's just see how far I can take this little road trip for a second on my Steam Deck. I will say it's more of a PC game for the mouse and keyboard stuff. But I'm just gonna suffer. I'm just gonna suffer with the touchpad because I don't want to be on my computer.
That too. Okay,
yeah,
looks like
I
we're
like
on
that
text.
too.
Okay,
it's not too bad.
Is it
controller support is coming at some point? It says that in the menu, so we'll see.
Nice. So Backstage Pass chat, they're like, oh, is it like a 2D Pacific Drive? Is it like scratching some of those itches?
It has for me only, but like I wasn't the biggest Pacific Drive fan, and this kind of like it simplifies things to just kind of the vibes of like the keep driving part of it is they just give you this map of like all these different nodes and you just kind of go out and do whatever you want. You get like missions that will point you to certain places, but it's like, where do you want to go? And it's like, the whole premise is like, it's the summer, you're young, like you have time to just kind of drive around and have fun. You like make your own playlist for like the music that you have, and you're getting like CDs and stuff, and you just
the music's incredible.
It's great.
Really?
Yeah.
I looked up the band. The band's like a real band from 2015. I like added their album to my stuff. I don't know if it's just one. I don't know if they give you a different order, but I know for a fact, I'm scrolling now on my just added, the West Cursed was spelled with a K. Like their song like Swirl, Dishwasher and all that, like that's a regular album. I was trying to look into the licensing a bit last night, but then I was like, I gotta go to sleep. Yeah, it's got like such a great like nostalgic like indie, well people now call it indie sleaze, that 2010s indie kind of vibe energy to it. That's so cool.
I haven't heard the indie sleaze. That's awesome. A term?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. The Arctic Monkeys kind of era. Like that's the whole
okay, sure.
Not Weirder in the Backstage Pass chat says they're all local bands to the devs in Sweden.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, nice. YCJY Games is the name of the studio that made Keep Driving here. So like what type of things are popping up, Leo, that are capturing your imagination as you're going on this journey?
I can talk about where my run is right now. At the risk of being a little long, I think it sums a lot of things up. The first hitchhiker I got is the songwriter, who you have little conversations as you're driving. A sentence or two pops up of a back and forth. It's not like dialogue trees or anything at all. It's, again, just vibey stuff. And he talks about how he has written tons of songs, but he's never recorded any, and he doesn't really like to play them for people. But as your bond increases, he eventually does start playing at rest stops and earn passive income while you're resting. And you see him playing his guitar versus when he used to just stand against a wall. Huh. And he eventually gives you a CD of, he's like, I did record a few songs, here you go. And you can put on the tracks he gave you. And they're awesome songs. They're like legitimately moving and catchy, which again is like the real music difference, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling with the songwriter. I pick up another hitchhiker and their dog. We're cruising together. That's one of the Oregon Trail comparisons, is you have this party of people that you care about. And some of them have different goals where you're trying to get them to, and they'll be happy. I stumble across a bag of cocaine. And I am low on energy. And I say, this stuff seems like it'll boost my energy. This seems like just what I need. Uh-huh. So I take some and it goes great. And I am going through these events super quickly without any cost to my energy. I can like blast through a rest stop without having to stop and rest or stay in a hotel or whatever. Going so great. Eventually need it again. Take it again. Pops up new trait, addicted to cocaine, which means now I'm in a perpetual state of withdrawal if I don't have it. Meaning
that'll get you.
Yeah. Who knew? Meaning that it'll cost extra energy whenever I play something that costs energy in those road events. And so I'm taking huge dings to my energy in every event. Plus, the songwriter has this debuff where when I don't use something, I don't use one of their skills, I take an energy hit for that. It's called like center of attention. They need to be involved. And so I either do one of his moves, which costs a ton of energy, or don't use them at all, which costs some energy. And so I'm really taking a lot of energy hits. I have some introspection on the road, which you go like, here's this little thought. How do I respond to it? And I hate being addicted to something. And the options are like, whatever, it's fine. And I should really get help. And I choose I should get help. And I get this new journey, this new goal of get to this rehab center.
Whoa.
Where I totally have the goal of getting to. I'm like, I'm going to drop this hitchhiker off. I'm going to take me and the songwriter back to the rehab center, and I'm going to get everything sorted out. And I've got time for all of it. I'm looking at the calendar. I'm mapping out the roads. You can see how long it's going to take. I can do it. I can rest at these places. I'll be fine. I get to where I'm dropping off the hitchhiker. I drop them off. They leave their dog with me. So it's me, the songwriter, and the dog. I'm exploring the city. I find some ditch weed in the little exploratory sections, which is like it's all so minimalist, but you are like exploring little alleys in this big city and finding loot, such as ditch weed. And it says, this will make you happy. And I'm looking at my 3 debuffs on the bottom left. And I'm like, this seems like what I need right now. And I take it. And then it goes, remember, you were supposed to be sober up until you got to rehab. You were supposed to not take anything more. And so you fail this journey to get to rehab. And so now I don't have an end goal for that anymore. I still have this perpetual withdrawal debuff. And I have this songwriter with me who's going to keep sapping my energy, who I love. But I'm like, I have to kick you out. It's just... I have so much ahead of me before I can even like hope to get rid of this. And it's every leg of the journey is so difficult because you're here. And so I have to kick this guy I love out who's making passive income, who has these benefits and is, cute, a cool character. So I kick him out, and then it's just me and the dog in the car. And we resume our journey. And the dog's great. His moves don't cost any energy, but they're really simple. But it's useful, and I'm not draining energy the way I used to at all, because if I don't spend any energy, I don't get the like extra energy sap from the withdrawal. But I'm driving around listening to my playlist, which has songs from the songwriter on it. And I'm like, this is making me too sad.
Oh my God.
And so I go and change the playlist and get to try some new songs. I got a new CD in town. I switched that up. And now it's me and the dog on this totally different journey where I'm just perpetually in withdrawal. And there's still so many more interesting paths it can go. And there's times I like don't want to talk about certain things because it feels like a spoiler for possible directions, but it's all so emergent and so specific that I feel like I can't spoil anything.
So what level is Keep Driving? Is it to the point of like cool little game, or is it like 2025 must play? Holy cow, this is on another level.
For me, honestly, I think the mechanics of the events are not quite fun enough for it to be like a lock for that.
Yeah.
It's not the best part of the experience at all, that going through those events, they can get a little tedious if you're doing a bunch in a row. But I'm really hot on it right now, and I really am like gonna see through a couple runs because it can go so differently. I'm just doing a run right now where it's a low relationship with my parents run, That's
the run I'm on now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that first like hooked me in immediately, like when I did the demo. Like I actually would put this as a must play. It's a little dramatic, I guess, to add must play just because it sounds so heavy-handed. But it's a really good story game, and it's unlike a lot of stuff I play. So yeah, I would say if you like story stuff, you should be checking this out. It doesn't make sense to like narrative games and not play this game.
Right.
Obviously, if you don't like narrative and you're like, I don't get it, you're in the car, you got a coffee, who cares? Okay, well then I don't think it's your bag. But yeah, and I think the writing is very clearly strong from the jump. And Keep Driving, it's the difference between like, it's like for narratively, it's where the boys become men, right? I think a lot of times people talk about narrative in games and it's like, does it have a good story or does it have a story? And Keep Driving has a good story. Every bit of the writing is interesting and fun and different and personal while being brief and simple as well, which I think is really incredible. But yeah, you can, when you make your character, you can pick like, a masculine or feminine character, it's just like 2 stock people. And then you pick a couple other things. Like one of them is, what's your relationship with your parents like? And it's like very bad to very good. And the second it asked me that, yes, I was like, this is the game for me. Let's go. I was like, I guess, how bad is my relationship with my parents? I put it at a 2 for me personally.
Me too. 1 felt like a lot. 2 felt
1 felt like they had to try to kill me a little bit. And 2 felt like, 1's kind of more of a 1, and then the other person, they're kind of filtering in and out. I see you when I see you kind of vibe. So it feels like a 2 to me.
Right. And it also says, like, if you have a good relationship with your parents, might bail you out of a tough situation. Yes. Like, it could help you, which is funny that it just tells you that up front. And then you go, yeah, I guess I would, know that if I had a good relationship with my parents. I would know that was a possibility. Yeah. So it's like choosing to have a debuff. Yeah. There are lots of choices like that where it's like, maybe this is a little on the negative side, but it is a more interesting story. It's definitely a story generator, first and foremost, within the specific niche of this vibey early 2000s road trip, which for me is a big, big hit of a mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome.
You have like different occupations you can pick. So you can be unemployed, which gives you like a carefree buff, which is really funny. I went with the like part-time mechanic because I feel like I want to just be myself. And I'm like, that kind of gives the freelancer energy of like, okay, where I'm at in my life or whatever. And then you pick like what you're like bringing or what have you. And I think I took like a guitar and like a 30 rack of beer. And I'm like, even though it's like, you really shouldn't drink and drive, obviously, but it's like, you can, do whatever in the game. And yeah, like Leo said, it's just like a fun, intriguing adventure where you're like picking up these different people, having these different interactions. Like for me, I picked up a kid who was like 6 years old or 8 years old. I'm like, what's this baby doing on this side of the road? Oh, yeah. And but anyway, the kid was like trying to get back to their dad or whatever. But it's funny because even on the kid's description, it says like kid 6, occupation unemployed, which the fact they even state that is hilarious. And like the kid situation is like, I forgot what their abilities are. They have the Lacard abilities. But some of their like traits is that like has to stop and pee pretty regularly, which is like
all the time.
Hilarious and accurate. And then there's also like always asleep at night because when like if you're driving at night and you have these characters, you can't use their abilities because they're asleep. So it's like, yeah, it's just got like so much fun and adventure to it, despite it being, a generally stationary experience. Yeah, like I mean, I think Chet's bringing up a lot of stuff like with Road 96 and having some of those vibes. Yeah. I think there are a lot of vibes that it has from different things, but it's not quite like any specific one thing. I think the closest thing I can give you is Signs of Sojourner, which is another incredible game that I really absolutely adored. And similarly to what you mentioned, Leo, like Signs of Sojourner's deck builder like aspect isn't like wildly fascinating, but what it represents is cool, of like this idea of conversations. And I think similarly, what's cool about Keep Driving is the idea of like stopping at like these gas stations and rest stops and like making these decisions to buy things and being like, okay, I'm going to put, a pack of cigarettes in the dash because it can give me like this ability card, or I know I run low on energy, so I'm going to pack like the front seat with like a bunch of coffees. And then I'm just like, I didn't even sleep for the first who knows how many days of my trip. I've just been drinking coffees and just kind of hanging out. There's all these cool things that happen in the background, like a rainbow appeared and they're like, oh, things are good now. You can put a hula girl on your dash and it gives you like extra charisma. Like it's just such a fun, cool, more controlled experience than I think what you get in Oregon Trail. Because I think we all think Oregon Trail, that's a little bit of a scam, right? You just be walking, they're like, you broke your ankle. Like, okay, like I guess.
No,
but
we deserved
like
everything that happened to us in Oregon Trail at all times.
The
sins.
Events feel a lot more like constructed and a little less like cheap. I feel like Oregon Trail is a fantastic game. Like I love that game. The Apple Arcade version super hits.
Wow.
But it is a little bit more like what's going to screw you over. And this is just more you're living your life. Which you're still get screwed over in life, but it feels a little bit more genuine than the game just trying to get one over on you.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
It's vibes first. I just think it's interesting that I took the Pew Pew Bang which host are you quiz and got Janet, and also in this conversation Janet and I have basically the exact same starting build in this game. We chose the same starting situation.
Suspicious. Yeah.
What is your run like, Jeffa?
I'm kind of in your camp, Leo, of I don't want to say what the mission I just kind of like put on myself. When I started, it was like, oh, if you travel across the country, there's this music festival that you can go to with your friends. And I started going on that one, and then I got something else that I was like, actually, I'm going to really focus on this one. I got the kid who's like constantly telling you like, oh, I live 2 towns over. I swear it's right this time. And every time you go there, she's like completely wrong. And so she just keeps being your companion, which isn't that bad because her abilities do come in handy when she's not peeing on the side of the road all the time. But like then I also got a mechanic was the first hitchhiker that I picked up. And so he's been like fixing up my car the entire time, which has been super helpful. And like the story thing, again, I don't want to say what it is and I apologize for being vague, but like it got me a lot more than I expected. Last night, where it was like the last thing I did, and I just kind of sat there afterwards and I was like, wow, I did not expect to have the feelings that I'm having now from like this random little thing. It's like, it's not that much dialogue, but it just kind of, it's the fact that I chose to prioritize this thing and go out. Like I felt it was important to me to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of bumps along the way in order to get there. And that's just really impressive. I've like for as simple as like the core gameplay is, though, like I have enjoyed it, and I do like that as you're doing different things on the road, you're unlocking entirely new skill trees that give you these different abilities that you can choose from. And it feels like there's more meat than I was expecting there from like typically like narrative games are just the narrative, whatever, you know, the vibes of it. And this one has a more interesting kind of like, I'm going to take this ability and like try and pair it with this one. And like, I really don't want to get rid of this character because they do have this good ability. Like that helps build out the characters and makes them a little more meaningful until you like kind of like build this personality around them. Like it brings mechanical value to it until they like kind of worm their way into your head. And it's like, I've been hoarding like a lot of food and things, and it's like every time a new hitchhiker is like, well, like if I really ram these, if I like move things around, because I took like the basic like Volvo car or whatever, and you can I put all 3 seats down at the beginning, and that gives you a ton more space. And so then I've slowly been like having to get rid of my hoard stash, and like it's like if I move these things around, I can flip up one more seat. And then I can add this new like weird person to my crew that we're going across the country with. I've been really surprised by it.
Sweet. Yeah. Keep Driving on Steam is the name of this game. If you want to check it out, that's cool. Yeah, I will dive into this one. I'll squint and play it on Steam Deck if I must. I've been craving like a new, easy, simple game to play on Steam Deck while exercising, like riding a little bike in the morning. And last week I was like, I think it's going to be Warriors Abyss. I think it's going to be that Muso roguelike game. And I dabbled with that one, and I was like, it's not really doing it for me. But then this game popped up that's called A Game About Digging a Hole. The most perfect title possible here. A game about digging a hole, and it is the perfect mindless exercise game. It's one of those things of like, I'll bike for 30 minutes, and I look down, it's like, I've been biking for 90 minutes because I just cannot stop playing a game about digging a hole, where it's the most basic ass premise of, hey, you bought a house, there's a little backyard plot, you have a shovel, start digging. And then, Leo, tell me if you've heard this one before, but as you're digging then, you find things that you can sell, like different ores, and you sell those, and then you get upgrades for a bigger shovel, for a better jetpack, so you can jetpack your way out of the hole better. You can buy dynamite then to toss into the hole. You can upgrade your battery because all these shovels are running on batteries for some strange reason. It is just like basic lizard brain satisfaction. But there is something about video games and digging that's just like, yes, what is it? It's just the most compelling thing. Janet, do you get that? Are you down for digging in games? Is it also striking a chord with you?
I guess I haven't dug a lot in games, but I am interested in checking this one out. I haven't gotten to it yet. But I think what I like, one thing I like in games is a repetitive action that has a continually like somewhat different outcome. Like there's progression in it. And I think that's what like something like digging offers you. It's, you know, it's one step away from building, you know? So I think it kind of has some of that energy to it. And I think chasing, because I was curious like what the loop looks like besides like, okay, I get it, you dig the hole. And that's now what happens? You know, there is having like that upgrade thing to chase, I think could have that excitement. Because like that's something I love about like Good Pizza, Great Pizza, where it's like, oh, it's a great pizza simulator. And then it's like, well, I got to buy the better pizza cutter so I can make better pizzas, which is just like, it's just a loop that gets you playing the game more, but it's perfect. It works, I think, for a lot of titles. It
totally works. And like, yeah, there's definitely some Minecraft feelings in here, but I was thinking about even like Subnautica a little bit while playing. And to be fair, this is a small game. You know, you can quote unquote finish it within a couple hours, like under 5 hours, you know? And it's like $5 on Steam as well. So think of it as a small game. You're not going to be uncovering some ancient civilization down there and do a whole thing, but that would be cool. But at the same time, it's just like getting down and digging that hole and then just having that moment that's a little bit Minecraft, a little bit Subnautica for me, just like looking up and be like, oh my God, I'm so far down here. Like, how the hell am I going to get back out? Like, I'm lost within my own creation. Yeah. Yeah. And you lose your ore and the stuff that you picked up there and stuff. So it's not
I don't want to die in the hole is the thing.
Well, you want to die and then be put in a hole? It's everybody's dream. But at some point, you got to die in a hole. But you need that tension. I think it helps a lot. So like simple, There's even a little Red Faction level of satisfaction there, Jeff, as you're digging out this hole. Makes me think of just the glory days of Red Faction 1 even, right? But it's just, it's a simple game, but it's incredibly satisfying, and it's $5 on Steam. So if you're looking for a simple thing, you can check out a game about digging a hole. And believe it or not, it seems to be taking off on Steam. Seems like, I love that you see these little games that people are just like laser focused, and the dev releases it. It's like, yes, this taps into the human brain perfectly. Congratulations. A game about digging a hole, exactly what we need. So I've been having a good time with that. I also checked out Leo's favorite game on planet Earth, Aloft, which was surprising, Leo, because I feel like for so many of the quote unquote punch trees type of games, as Kyle puts it, you kind of like bounced off. Like Valheim didn't really do it for you. Minecraft you never gotten into, but Aloft, like another survival game, this one got you?
It got my ass.
Oh no.
I find it less grindy than most of them. My partner and I try a ton of these for co-op purposes because we love building stuff together, building cute little environments as a team. And so often we tried like Medieval Dynasty recently, which is like way too serious and simmy and completely loses any ambition of being fun. It's just, you are here to put in the real work that building a Medieval Dynasty would take.
Yeah.
And we don't have the patience for that all the time. And this one, like, we haven't, chopped down a tree in like 6 hours. It just stopped mattering at a certain point.
Perfect.
It's all about doing the cute, fun stuff and the exploration stuff, I find.
And this amazing thing is, early on even, you get basically a wingsuit so early on. It's like, okay, it's going to be limited. You kind of have to glide. But it's like, no, you have a lot of range on that thing. You can just hit spacebar to give yourself a nice boost. Like it is much more freeform, just go around, because it's called Aloft, and the big premise here is it's Sky Islands. If you're a fan of Skyward Sword, Skies of Arcadia, imagine that type of vibe. But it is really fun just to fly around between the different islands. And I don't know, it has, I guess, Tears of the Kingdom is another example, I guess, of that feeling of just like, okay, I need to get to that island over there in the sky. How am I going to do it? What's going to be there? And it's like, it's strong out of the gate for sure.
And the bigger premise is any of these floating islands, you can build a sail on, a lift on, and a steering wheel on, and then that island is your ship now.
So good.
You can just take any island and steer it around to the other islands. And so picking a cute one because they're randomly generated, and some of them have really weird layouts and waterfalls and buildings that are already there. Marie and I picked this awesome one that has these different layers, and we put all the steering and sails up on the top layer, and then down below is like the farm and the little house we fixed up. Like, it came with this dilapidated house in the forest that was cute, but at like a 45-degree angle. And you can repair stuff with a hammer, but I'm like, are we going to repair this just for it to permanently be at a 45-degree angle? So instead, over time, it takes resources, but you have this sketchbook that you can take with you exploring. And if you see a piece like this cool wooden trellis or a curved stone wall, you look at it and you write it down, and that's how you learn a lot of the new recipes. There's other ways to do it too, but you can do that by just saying, oh, I don't think I have that, taking the sketchbook out and taking it down. And so, it was a long-term project of taking notes on this building, every piece of it, until I had this whole building. I could recreate it, erased it all, built it all from scratch, this like beautiful, cute version of this house. And it's ended up being like, again, we play a lot of these. This is my favorite home we've built in one of these, just as far as aesthetics. It's so cute. It's not super pretty graphically, but it definitely is good looking for what it's trying to be, with the lighting and the foliage, the specific bushes and stuff that are specific to each biome, I think is all really cool. Yeah. And I just love taking screenshots of what we've built, which is a great sign for one of these.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's in early access at this point, but like, it's playing well, and I think the UI is fantastic. The music's really great and soothing. Like, it's got a good, confident vibe out of the gate, and it's like Funcom is publishing it. They're making the new Dune game, and the Conan games have been around forever. Secret World, and we're all huge fans of that MMO. But Astrolabe is the name of the developer. But yeah, I was super impressed out of the gate for Aloft. It gets out of there strong. And is it doing well? Is it taken to the skies? Let's see.
I have no idea.
Let's see, Aloft on Steam. Okay, 1,200 reviews on Steam, so solid. Not blowing up in a huge way yet, but yeah, I'm feeling optimistic about it. I think it's a cool survival game for sure.
Yeah, Steam Workshop support for sharing your islands. There's a lot of cool, pretty ones in there where people get lucky with the spawning or or make them really pretty. And I was inspired because I didn't realize, people make full airships. They just make full wooden structures and you put the steering wheel and the sails on it and it works like a island.
Yeah.
It's so cool to have freeform ships like that. And yeah, it's not just the lack of grinding. It is the quality of the building. Like you said, it is so easy to go from an idea to an execution, which I do not take for granted anymore in these team survival games, especially early access ones.
Yeah, right on. Aloft is the name of that thing. Who all has been playing more Avowed? It's officially out this week here. We were pretty hot on it last week. Jeff, you played a little bit more. Leo, you still playing it too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Janet, we didn't talk about you with it. You jumped on the podcast after we talked about it. But Janet, what is your take on Avowed so far?
Yeah, so I played 20, maybe 25 hours during the review period in the third area. I think Avowed is a game where I've done my time. I've seen what there is to see, and I think I'm peacing out. Yeah, it's fine. Like, I think it's like a totally like competent, solid game, but it just doesn't have like that extra, like, there's not really like a big intrigue for me. Everything I think is just like all right. Like the story's like the plot's interesting. I'm curious to see how it ends, but not curious enough to want to do it myself.
Interesting.
I could always just look it up, right? It's like, okay, it's fine. I think there's something kind of fascinating about positioning, the player as like the sort of, the envoy of like this like kind of colonist civilization. So everyone kind of hates you. It's like, there's a little bit of intrigue there.
Yeah.
But I think just so much of what it amounts to just doesn't have like the juice for me. I think things like the dialogue options and like they have like the ones for the background, but the background ones are like really dry. Except for I think one is really interesting. The one I didn't pick. I picked Scholar, and it's like all my answers are like I read about this one time.
That's
like,
exactly what I'm doing.
I guess, and I think there's a lot of other like little things that irk me about Avowed. I think my number one beef with it, which I know a couple other people just like on the internet have as well, is I found I do appreciate that it's like it's like a more scaled down game. It's like, hey, we're not gonna like have as much like extra stuff because we're kind of gonna be lean, and what we're gonna have there is good. Is the pitch. I think what you have there is fine, but then also like the level jumping for weapon quality is so extreme, like mission to mission. And I know it's like, well, you gotta do the side stuff, and it's like, but I already did all the side stuff. I did a lot of the bounties, and it's like, oh well, you gotta like walk through a forest aimlessly and maybe you'll find something to like. It's very tough to make your way to better equipment in my personal experience, or to buy your way to better equipment because you don't make a lot of money and stuff doesn't sell for much. And yes, I know you can tear down things to like get stuff. It's like, okay, well, that'll give me iron, but I kind of need like this other thing that's like rarer.
Yeah, it is.
I don't really know how to get that.
It's interesting.
And it's
I think they want that talking point.
You fight too many bears in it.
No, I think they want that talking point of like, it's a smaller game. Think of it like Outer Worlds. It's not as huge as a Skyrim. Everybody lower your expectations. But I do think if you try and beeline it, I think, and just do kind of critical path stuff because of the level scaling, it seems like people are really kind of getting their teeth kicked in.
To be specific.
Okay, right on.
Because you have level, but like the level doesn't really like do much. It does your attributes like intellect and stuff, but then it does, and you get like one ability point. But I find also after a while you like don't level up that quickly. So, and a lot of the abilities are like, do you want 10% more damage on this? I think that's intensely boring of an ability suite to have. I think only having 2 weapon loadouts ends up being very limiting.
But it's cool that you can swap between really 2 loadouts. Like that's wild for this genre.
Yeah, I suppose it is. But yeah, it's not enough. And you swap really slowly too. Like I think there are some cool ideas in Avowed. Like I love that the fact that you can have a grimoire in one hand and a gun in another. How is this not like the best game ever? But I find the combat to just be a lot of I'm going in a circle and I'm beating people up and I'm looking for the guy who respawns and I'm looking for the healer. And the abilities, I think with this combat being as simple as it is, fun abilities and fun weapons are really what can give it that juice. And I think there are glimpses of that, like when you break someone's stamina and do like that's not your ultimate, but you do your special move.
Execution.
That looks so cool. Yes. Why is more of the game not just that? Why do so many enemies die before they even get that stamina broken? Like, it just ends up being like, I don't know, been there, done that, seen it a bunch of times. Like, I don't need it here. I think I've had my fill of it.
That's helpful. I mean, because I think last week, you're like, I've been playing, I'm not that into it. And so my read on that was like, oh, she played it for 2 hours and bounced off. It's like, oh no, I'm glad that you put that much time into it, to really sink your teeth in and then say, maybe not for me for this thing. But yeah, Jeff, Leo, you still pretty hot on it? How are you feeling as you get further in?
There are build solutions to some of these problems, but again, I do agree with the slow leveling, and that makes it hard to get to a build that is doing the fun stuff you want. And I totally am like having a good time because I'm doing absolutely everything, and I'm interested in that. Like I'm not forcing myself. I like the writing, and I like all those individual side stories, and I totally understand that criticism. Like if I was not doing that, the fights would be really hard, and when the fights are really, really hard, it's not that fun to be up against these huge health pools.
Like I play these games the way that I play all of them, which is like hopelessly wandering from one thing to the next and not doing the objectives that I should be doing. Like, and so like I have upgraded my arquebus a ton, and it is super powerful where I am now, but I'm like one main mission in, and I've played for like 25 hours at this point. And so like I hope they didn't balance it for people like me, because people like you, Janet, are not going to have fun if that's the case.
It's funny, this is like a big genre conversation, right? Because I think whenever these games of any like RPG comes up, there's the like, well, like how quickly, did you play it the right, not that you guys are saying that, but it's like, did you play it the right way? Totally. I feel like if your optional stuff is not optional, then it's not optional, It's like, so and I think too, part of why I don't just wander in this game is I don't actually find myself drawn to a lot of like sightlines. I feel like the space definitely has stuff like there's caves and verticality to it, but in a different kind of open world game, I find it a lot easier to peruse and get lost in the world. Even like, I'm very early into Eternal Strands, which I think is that the name of the game. Jeez, I wish that game was named something different.
It has a question mark at the end of it officially, yeah.
Yes, Eternal Strands? It's something like that. It's like, it's so easy for me to like get distracted by like the little alcoves there and the way that it's structured. I think despite being a really small game, like the area design is very wide, and there's like a great fast travel system, which I'm like, okay, great. So I'm going to like fast travel around, and I get that like, oh, well, like, no, you got to walk from place to place. If you want me to walk from place to place, then why you give me this fast travel system? Like, I don't know. So I just feel like there's, and especially like having done, which this is kind of the same thing with Starfield too, where it's like, oh, well, if you live in it, you like it. It's like, I've done like a good amount of the side stuff and the bounties, and I still just don't feel like I have what I need to do what I need. And then I'm not like drawn to grind my way into having like more of that sauce.
Yeah.
But definitely some things it does well for sure. I think I like their lore integration in the dialogue. I think that's super smart. I wish every game did that, where you had kind of like a glossary that you can pull up. So
it's really nice.
I don't think Avowed is bad, but I think it feels very mid to me. Like my read on it and my feelings towards it are more in that bucket. But obviously, it definitely clearly has its audience. I think it's been pretty well like generally received, and I'm like, wish I played that game.
Well, I mean, you're not,
I feel like I played something else.
You're not alone. It was funny because we recorded the last podcast, not knowing other reviews out there, and it is like some people are like, this is exactly my jam. This is what I've been craving. Yeah. Which it seemed like last week that was a lot of people on the podcast take. But there's still like, GameSpot gave it a 6, and it's like some of those are like, oh wow, like it's just really not clicking with some people out there, which is interesting to see the full spread.
I will just say, Janet, the game is woke, so you do like it. But besides that, I think that's great criticism. The lore stuff is interesting because I'm trying to have a smart character, and it's like my character. I don't know what animancy is, but I'm not going to ask that in dialogue. My character would never ask that, so I get to go take the time and be like, okay, I'm well read on this subject. And the sightlines not drawing you to other places is super fair. I am totally clearing out the map and clearing all the fog, but it's because I check the map and see where I haven't been, and I'm like, oh, I thought I had been there, but I haven't. Right. Like that's totally because I'm going into the menus all the time, which is not the best setup for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Avowed. We'll keep playing. I think Haley beat it, so I'm curious to hear kind of more thoughts from everybody once they keep diving in. And Jeffem will beat it in the year 2027. That was actually going to be one of my predictions for earlier in the year, so look forward to that.
That's bold.
Yeah.
That's an aggressive timeline.
Do you think you will beat Avowed by the end of the year, Jeffem? The man who said he'd beat Red Dead Redemption 2 any day now.
I did not say any day. I said I will at some point.
When you retire.
Hey, Ben, I still think about that Bayonetta game. I saw it the other day.
It's not bad. It's my Avowed, Janet. It's a totally fine time, Bayonetta Origins.
I put that Bayonetta game way higher than Avowed. Maybe not way, but like one little pegboard.
It's lonely on my Bayonetta Origins island, Janet. If you want to come out and join me on this freak show, you're welcome. Sorry, Jeffem, please, the floor is yours.
You weren't there. Anyway, yeah, Jeffem, what's up with you in this game?
Of all the games, I'm probably not going to finish. Avowed is closer to the top of ones that I feel like I want to.
Okay, feel like you want to.
If you I think though 20, you said you're 25 hours into it, right?
Yeah, I'm still in the first zone, Janet.
That is almost the same thing as having finished it, though. I think if you play a lot of a game and you just don't finish it, that's as valid as finishing it with the same amount of time. You know what I mean? Because you still spent a lot of time with it.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Janet, that is how I view every game at this point. It's like I'll play a game for 80 hours. I got my stuff out of it, unless it's like really narrative driven and the narrative is what's driving me on it. Then
you don't really need to kill Ganon. We all know he's there at the end. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take my time. Take my time.
Narrative driven, like a Baldur's Gate 3.
That's valid.
Hey,
Jeff, when we mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2, does that push you a notch closer to going back and finishing it, or a notch further?
No, I dig my little cowboy star heels.
If Spurs.
Yeah, my
if
Spurs.
we promise to never mention it for 1 year, will you do it?
Someday I'll just come back and be like, guess what, guys? I beat it.
That would be the best day of my life.
I think it's fun.
Do it.
Yeah.
Jeff, don't let people take your bit away from you. It's fun to have a bit. It's fun to have a little thing that you can have and work towards. And
if I did,
you know what's more fun is building the house on Red Dead Redemption 2.
if I did beat it, I'd have to just pretend that I didn't.
Yeah, it's more satisfying.
And then someday you guys will try and float like like something past me of like some reference. And I'll be like, oh, and then I'll be like, oh no, I actually don't get that because I didn't get that far.
What a fun game we
also,
could
Ben,
play.
I did hear your Baldur's Gate 3 slander against me not finishing it, and I chose to ignore it.
Thank you. Classy.
So,
classy.
there you go.
And I want to say, I feel like we chose to ignore Jeffum in Red Dead. I feel like I haven't brought that up in a year, I would bet. I feel like it's been a while. Is that not true?
You did just bring it
I don't
up.
know.
up all the
Backstage
time.
I don't know how many
Pass
points
is
you
what
want.
I get to do, yeah.
Check it out. Check the archives of YouTube, everybody. I feel like it's been...
I believe that you haven't brought it up since last year,
Correct.
maybe.
Right. Like December of 2024, yeah.
All you're doing is saying you think about bringing it up all the time.
I do, almost on a
Jeff,
daily
it took me
basis.
so long to beat Yoshi's Woolly World. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't fly as high as you
I'm
want
not worried
to.
about it.
Hey, you know how Janet just referenced Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and defeating Ganon? And we all said, good point, good point. Do you remember that game that came out years ago that in retrospect is more and more of like, that is one of the wildest anomalies in the game industry, which is Cadence of Hyrule. Remember that Zelda roguelike that indie team, Brace Yourself Games, got to just develop? Do we talk about that enough? That was weird that happened, right? And it's like they said that it'll happen because they like got drinks with Anuma. And he said, hey, I really like your game, Crypt of the NecroDancer. Let's do it. Well, hey, there's a new game from that studio that just launched. And this is just a straight up rhythm game. It's not like the whole roguelike experience from Crypt of the NecroDancer, but this is called Rift of the NecroDancer. Speaking of names, it's tough to remember. This is Rift of the NecroDancer, and it is like, note tracks coming towards you, Guitar Hero style, Rock Band style, I guess you could say. At the same time, like, the same way that Crypt of the NecroDancer, everything is like you're moving to the rhythm in Cadence of Hyrule as well. Like instead of the notes coming down in a smooth way, everything is to the beat more or less as it's coming down the note track towards you. But it's a really cool idea for a rhythm game. Like it's a genre I love a lot. And I love seeing people go for something wild and new like this, where a lot of the skill is not just based on, hey, how's your hand-eye coordination? You know, how fast can you process what you're seeing and make your hand do that? Like a lot of it's coming down to the different enemies and memorizing patterns from enemies, because it's like all these different notes that are coming down the track, they're all different creatures and they all have different patterns. You know, so it's like, okay, this is a zombie. Every beat, he moves diagonally this way. And zombies will wrap around the screen to the other side of the note track. Or things like if there's a shadow under an enemy that is a diamond, that means that they're on the half beat. Or, okay, you attack this person, this type of enemy, every time you attack them, they don't die, they just get bumped back 1 space or 2 spaces. So you have to remember like, okay, I need to do this, and then I need to press this button the same time as this one because that enemy is backed 3 back and now is moving down the track towards you because I timed it in the past. It's a really cool twist on the genre that I've been enjoying, and like, people seem to be gaga over this thing. And I'm not quite at that level. It's just a novel take for something that I thought would be a little bit more standard. Once you see the note tracks, like, I think I know this plays, but then you jump into it. It's like, oh, no. It's a lot more about memorizing these enemies and their funky patterns in a funky way. But the big seller is the soundtrack. Frickin' rules, of course. Like a lot of the tracks are from Danny Baranowski, who composed the NecroDancer games in the past. Also, Cadence of Hyrule, he was the original composer for Super Meat Boy. And so a lot of the music is just fantastic. And they even have 3 tracks at least from Super Meat Boy in here, which is weird because there's that split. I don't know if you remember, between Team Meat and Danny Baranowski, where like the newer versions of Meat Boy, they stripped all of his music out. So it's just weird that it's like, oh, they have Meat Boy tracks in here with like the Meat Boy art. So there must have been some agreement there. But then the weirder part, and maybe I'm just not enough of a super fan, but like I don't recognize the Meat Boy tracks. It's like, were they cut, or they're just deeper in the game, so they're not as iconic in my mind as like the go-to Danny Baranowski Super Meat Boy tracks? But it's really cool. Like it's on the main menu, they have a story mode, but it's like 4th down the list of options. So it's one of those things like, okay, are they just not emphasizing it that much? They want you more just to like understand the patterns, jump into quick play, go through these songs. But it's interesting because it's Danny Baranowski doing a lot of the music, but then also it's kind of like his friends. So they have folks from around the game industry, like, oh, sorry, I forgot his last name, but Jules, who's like an amazing guitarist, like a lot of his music's in there. And so it's kind of a cool collaboration between a bunch of different artists for pumping music into this thing. But yeah, it seems good. Are any of you guys NecroDancer fans?
Not historically, really slick looking. Like I like the art on this one a lot more than the previous Crypt of the NecroDancer, which I will say Rift of the NecroDancer, Crypt of the NecroDancer were kind of Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's a rough go for sure. Because you always want to say Necromancer, and now you have to correct yourself on multiple fronts on this whole thing. Yeah. But it is out on Steam if you want to check the thing out. I'm trying to see if it's out anywhere other than Steam. Oh yeah, it's also on Switch. Fantastic.
Makes sense.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, it's a cool rhythm game. If you want to have a new type of experience there, you can check it out. But Rift of the NecroDancer is the name of that thing. And again, like one of the best soundtracks of the year, for sure. I mean, it's fantastic music. Leo Vader?
Hello.
Do you know how this whole thing might operate in some crazy fantastical world?
Mana.
Manna from heaven, or as he puts it, money from heaven. As we know, money only comes from one place on earth, and that's Patreon, baby. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. That is how this whole independent outlet is possible. If you have thought, if you followed MinnMax's content recently and had that thought of like, hey, they're kind of on a roll. 2025, I feel like we're doing gangbusters. I feel like, I don't know. It's one of those things just kind of line up. And so I feel like every week we've had some fun surprises, good content out there. Pew Pew Bang, the new podcast over there. We've got a ton of stuff. And so if you want to help support all of that content directly, you can go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, find a tier that's right for you. Even the $2 tier, it is hundreds and hundreds of times better than watching our stuff on YouTube where we get a sliver of a sliver of a sliver of a penny. Leo, you look like you're ready to pop.
I am. We just did a new bonus pod with Haley and me and my best friend Kobe Soft Joe, where we talked more about Avowed, if people want more Avowed conversation, in the context of choices in games, because we're talking about the ones that are interesting in that and what makes them interesting. It was a really good chat, and I was really excited to have an excuse to have my boy on.
Heck yeah. And that's all in the bonus podcast feed. If you're at the $5 tier, you can unlock all that stuff, more than double the amount of MinnMax content, all of our interviews, deepest dives, all that stuff's in that tier. So we hope you enjoy that $5 tier out there, everybody. And huge thank you to some of our biggest supporters. I'd say our number one biggest supporter of all time, I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know that available in their wonderful online store, they have the Persona 3 soundtrack on vinyl. Come on, what's better than the Persona 3 soundtrack? And I don't want you hacks out there to say Persona 4, Persona 5, because right now we're talking about Persona 3's soundtrack, everybody, including the soundtrack for episode Aegis. Aegis? Sorry, I don't know that better. But the double vinyl soundtrack you can pre-order at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, and they also have a restock of the Persona 3 vinyl soundtrack as well. Now, here's the thing. There is a promo code where you can get 10% off of everything at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. Does not apply for Atlas stuff. Everything else in the store, you can get 10% off by using the promo code BeMyPlayer2. BeMyPlayer2, everybody, if you want to get 10% off of everything in their cool store. So many great physical editions of games, so many vinyl soundtracks, so many cool gizmos and gadgets. Jump in there, check out I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. Show them some love. Show I Am 8-Bit some love because they support the MinnMax community in a huge way by shipping out a prize each and every week to whoever has the best questions submitted on Patreon. If you support any tier, you can submit a question, make the show better. We choose our favorite, and this week, that person wins the League of Legends World's Anthem vinyl soundtrack, thanks to I Am 8-Bit. And it's a cool, like, clear vinyl album. Like I saw it, and I was like, is this a CD? What am I looking at? But just awesome pressing. It's got blue smoke going through it. So whoever has the best question will win that. You ready to determine who that lucky person is?
Yeah.
Once and for all, Jeff. Mason Cowell writes in and says, hey, everybody, in light of the mixed critical opinions on Avowed, my question is, has the sheer breadth of the game industry robbed people of the ability to enjoy a game for just what it is? The game seems super fun, but some people can't get over what the game is not, which doesn't really seem fair to the game. I'm not saying this is your take, Janet, in general, I think. Has the sheer breadth of the game industry robbed people of the ability to enjoy a game for what it is?
It's also really stingy with essence in Avowed. I'm always running out of essence. Gotta drink a bunch of potions. I have a ring that lets me regenerate, but I regenerate so slow. It's like, what are you making side money on this? I don't understand.
You gotta eat a lot.
I don't think so. I think people need to embrace the idea of people not thinking a game is that good or liking it that much. I think that's like its own thing. Because I think we hear stories all the time of people loving like games that are, flawed. Like, I mean, that was kind of the conversation around Eternal Strands, right? Even though I know it's not like a critically acclaimed game technically, because it's like, under 70 on Metacritic. But I think we do have those conversations. And I think people tend to forget that exists when they like think of something like this. But I think it is a fine line between like critiquing what is there versus trying to bring in like a non-existent scenario for what it could be, but they're not as unrelated as I think people act. But I think it is something you have to be careful of, that you're really evaluating what's presented and not, what you wish was presented.
That's the tricky part. Like I remember even Jeff Cork talking a lot about it at Game Informer. I don't know if you remember these conversations, Jeff. I'm about just like, you can't ding the game for what it's not. It's like, oh, I wanted this game to be more like Oblivion. It's like, well, it's not. You got to take the game as it is. Do you remember those conversations?
I get that point, and certainly you can't just say, hey, it doesn't do all these things. There are cases, and I guess it mostly comes down to wording, where it was like one time I reviewed House Flipper.
Yeah.
When I was at Game Informer.
The iconic review.
And I just had a line in of like, you can't move around the plumbing. Like if you could move around the plumbing, that would be so much better for like laying out your bathrooms and whatever. And Joe was like, you can't say, what it doesn't do, or like ding it for what it doesn't do. And it's like, bullshit. Like you should be able to move around your fucking plumbing. That is not in the same area. And honestly, like I appreciate the question, but I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think anyone's dinging Avowed because they went into it thinking it was going to be Skyrim or Oblivion, and then it turned out not to be that. I think there are plenty of valid concerns with that game that aren't about what it isn't, and just like at some point those are two sides of the same coin, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's about like how you word it, right? Because it's like, think about the conversation with Breath of the Wild and like weapon degradation. Like that's not necessarily in the context of doing a review or an evaluation on a podcast, like where your job is to go beyond, I don't like that the weapons break. You have to get into like, well, why? Maybe your opinion is that you think they break so frequently that it makes it unexciting to get good weapons. Someone who likes it might say, or thinks it's good, that it makes the game more enjoyable, more interesting, would have the take of, oh, it allows, you to switch out the, builds a lot or something like that, right? Like, and I think that's an example of sometimes when people say, well, you can't ding it for what it isn't, it's like, it's not necessarily what it isn't, but it's the way that what's implemented is not in benefit of what the game is doing, which I think, Jeff, your plumbing thing is that, because like it's a game about customization. So in that case, it is limited. And also I think House Flipper 2 maybe saw that problem where it's like, it does kind of change it limits your creativity. And obviously there's benefits always to limiting player creativity, but there's also inherently potentially drawbacks. And I think it's you just kind of dissecting that versus like, I don't like Balatro because it's random each time. It's like, well, that's kind of just like, that is the game. That is kind of the game. Yeah.
But
now if you think the randomness is unfair, that could be, now we're getting into an actual critique and not just what the game is in, quote unquote.
Yeah. I also think though with Avowed, like I could see myself, if I wasn't liking it, going, I wish there was more systems at play here. It's taking me out of it to not be able to not be punished for stealing stuff in front of people. Like I would see it being more of a realized world where all the creatures that are milling about, you can hunt and get resources from, whatever. Those kinds of things are like, I could see that bringing me in more than this is bringing me in now. But because what it is working, I'm not left wanting for that stuff, even though it's typically what I prefer. I would say is my preferred genre in games. It's like there are multiple paths towards it working for a person. But if it's working for a person, then they aren't really thinking about what could be better, I guess.
I think there's something interesting, too, about that question of like the sheer breadth of the game industry. We just have so many games releasing. We now have a backlog of the industry of so many great games that it's tough not to just make that comparison. And I know it's the easiest thing to do is when you're watching a reaction stream, you'd be like, okay, this is Breath of the Wild meets Balatro. Just immediately compare it to
that sounds awesome.
Some of the Hall of Fame.
And awful at the same time. The best and worst game ever.
Showing how stupid my brain is. Like, what were the last two games mentioned? But at the same time, like, it is interesting of this, like, as the industry just gets more and more games under its belt, there are going to be more and more great games, and therefore you're going to have more comparison points that are going to leave every new game unflattering.
Well, I think too, like, why do we have to act like that's the most evil thing in the world? You know, and that's always my, like, you know, again, I love criticism. I love being a critic. I love doing reviews. It's like, yeah, the truth is not every game is as good as every game. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean the people that made the game, you know, it's like, why do we have to act like they all need to be equal? It's like, they're all different. They do different things. They're different title. Like, I don't know. Like, I think people are a little too holding on to that. Like, they're like, it's not enough that one person, why can't more people see it for what it is? It's like, maybe they saw it for what it was and they didn't think it was good and or did not like it. Like, that is a possibility. And I implore people to accept that as an option.
Most people aren't ignoring what they're presented with and imagining doing other things. They're engaging with it and it's not hitting.
In so many other fields too. I mean, that was like a big Grammys conversation, right? People were like, oh, like, I don't get it. Like, everyone loved Billy. It's like, guys, like, there's other things going on. What if a different thing could be true, right? Like, let's invite that possibility into people's minds.
And to some extent, I feel like the breadth of the industry, at least for me, like, makes that okay. That it's not like, this doesn't have to be Skyrim because Skyrim already exists, and like like. I guess I appreciate that it's something that's a little different or a little more focused. Like, the past 3 times I've been on, I've been praising all these games because they are smaller things that are trying to do something a little different from everything else. I guess I don't see like the breadth of the industry leading to like, well, every game has to be this, like, pull in everything or be an amalgamation of everything or live up to the expectations of, GTA 6 now. Like, every game has to be that big or like that. Like, the GTA 6 is not going to be my new benchmark that everything else has to live up to,
right?
Going forward.
Yep. Alex Lovendahl says, hey, MinnMax, film sites like Letterboxd, IMDb, and Sight and Sound make a big deal out of their respective top 250s. But are there generally accepted to be more than 250 movies worthy of being considered among the greatest of all time? With 2025 marking 40 years since the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System in the US, how many games would you ballpark are worthy of being considered among the greatest games of all time?
This is where I'm not going to beat the hater allegations.
Generally is a big word to be in here because it's like we could see a variety of different people in the space agreeing on this being a valid choice. Right?
Yeah.
Not just for us.
I think so.
So, if we're talking the list of the greatest games of all time, I mean, I like being conservative. I mean, we did have a New Show Plus where we're kind of building out this exact list. I think the greatest at this point, 100. 100 seems good.
I was thinking like 25 to maybe 50.
Ooh, tight. Yeah.
Because the way I read this question was like, every game from this list could be considered, like, you could debate it's the greatest game of all time. That's how I read that question.
That's a good way of looking at it. I think 100
instead of like just
that.
a big list of really great games, because I think there is like when I think of like greatest games of all time, like Breath of the Wild. Oh yeah, you could throw that in there.
Yep.
Portal 2, you could throw that in there. One of the Metal Gear, like, and it's like, I think we could do that probably 25 times. Maybe we can do 50, but I think we could probably also, assuming taking into account the fact that I don't get like Monster Hunter, like, should throw one of the Monster Hunters in there? Like, I don't know. I believe you. Like, I think that's how high it kind of gets. But
when I read that, I was like, probably like a dozen.
Wow. Okay.
But that's
hell yeah, Jeff. Let's go.
But I was like, because when I thought about it, I was like, well, Tetris is there because that's perfect.
Wait, Tetris, yep.
and Balatro, and like, but I'm sure other people can come up with another 10. So
Yeah.
but it's like, it's
Miss
just a
Pac-Man,
matter.
to be clear, Miss Pac-Man.
It's just a matter of like how much you want to distill down what is the greatest of all time, and I guess I like Janet's definition of like
it has a chance.
You could argue, like a large number of people could argue that this is the best game ever made. Then I'd be fine whittling that down to a dozen.
25.
The 2/10 of the greatest of all time. Yeah. I could probably do that.
Yeah, I'm looking
Are
at.
we on to that lower 10? Not so much.
Yeah, IGN has like mathematically determined the 500 best video games of all time. And I'm looking at like the cutoff for what I said at like 100. And the number 101 is Persona 4. And no offense to Persona
That's
4.
pretty good for being 101. I'm scared. What's 100?
People could argue for that, yeah.
Yeah, 100 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which surely...
So now we lost the plot.
People could argue. People could argue. It's possible.
Well, if they mathematically determined what the best is, then it's got to be...
That is true.
You're right.
Yeah.
I was never good at math, so I think I have to just say this is probably right. It's probably Monster Hunter, I think. I think one of those seems pretty good.
This list, it's interesting. We talk a big game about like, oh, if you're talking about this could be argued as the greatest game of all time. Like, you look at lists like this, and it's like you could make a case for a lot of these games.
What's 59?
You could make a case for 59. And of course, 59 is Last of Us Part 2.
Ooh.
You could.
A man after my own heart. I do love Last of Us.
But you could make the argument for any game.
But either side of that is Diablo 2 and Fallout 3.
though.
And I can see people making the case for Diablo 2.
That's making it seem higher to me. I think there's a lot from every generation that we aren't thinking about as
Maybe
like,
it is
that
like-
was a landmark.
I don't know. We'll have to do this for real one day and figure out what the real number is.
We'll go back to that new show plus and have a cutoff, yeah. Mars Barrow writes in and says, hey, is there any way that Mario Kart 9 launches with a Nintendo Switch 2 as a pack-in game that maybe has some kind of updates and bonus cosmetics that could be purchased? I think it'd be smart to get that attach rate super high and get everyone in a fun online game that can make a ton of money from in-app stuff. What say you?
That would make a lot of sense. So Nintendo will be launching Johnny Jumper, a new franchise with the Switch. It'll be a pack-in and no one will like it.
Yeah, I agree with Leo.
Johnny Jumper.
Whatever you think they're doing the opposite.
I agree.
Johnny Jumper, me and Ben would eat that up. Like, you're kidding? That's new.
does sound really good.
The new one, you know?
Can we pre-order it now for Johnny Jumper, or do we gotta wait, or what's the deal? What's the deal with Johnny Jumper? But at the same time, you look at like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Was there a pack-in for Switch 2?
What, Switch 1?
There wasn't, right?
Switch
Sorry,
1.
sorry,
No.
Switch 1, yes.
No, that was the weird thing of like, remember Breath
So I don't
of
think
the
they're
Wild.
even going to have a pack-in at all.
I don't think they will. I think they might have some software.
Why would I give you anything?
I think there will be like a Mario Paint thing in there. But like, remember when Switch 1 launched with Breath of the Wild, the attach rate was like 110% or something for Breath of the Wild at launch because so many people were buying multiple copies. It was the weirdest damn thing. And so looking at like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's sales, where it's one of the best-selling games of all time, like they would not throw that money away. You know, this is not, this is the worst napkin math. But looking at the number of sales of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, timesing it by 60, which is not correct math. I understand that. But that number alone, take a guess how much money they've made off Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Leo.
Billion.
$1 billion? Sit down, you naive goof of a human being. $3.9 billion from a Wii U port. Like, they're not throwing away even a sliver of that number by making the new Mario Kart a pack-in. Like, people are going to buy the Switch no matter what, and they will happily pay $60 or $70 for Mario Kart 9.
They will buy Mario Kart no matter what.
Yeah.
What I always love about Guess the Number is either I'm humiliated because I'm so under or you're humiliated because I'm so over.
Yeah, there's no satisfying route for any of that. Absolutely. Mike Lynch writes in, says, I love vacuuming. I asked to be in charge of it because it feels good to get done. Is there a household chore or mundane task that you enjoy doing?
Vacuuming's pretty good. It's basically, if you get like, I have the one with the little like glowy light, so you can see the dirt.
They're called lights.
And it's basically just like a simulator. Like, I mean, yeah, like it's like any cozy game.
But do you also feel like you need to delay vacuuming? Because like I need to be able to see the difference. I don't want to technically get the dust.
No,
I want to be able to
no.
like, I'm going to wait long enough until there's little scraps and things around and then I can vacuum and then it's like a vacuuming commercial. And it's way
The
more
last
satisfying.
thing I need to do in my life is put off cleaning. I've never felt like it's too clean in here. It's never been the case.
Yeah.
I really like organizing stuff. It's kind of too broad to be quite a chore. But the apartment reorg, I'm obsessed with trying to like find a way that this is the best way to organize the furniture and everything we have.
Since I was a kid, I've loved folding laundry and watching TV.
Oh,
that's a
Leo, do
chore.
I have the basket for you?
Yes.
I have 2 baskets that are in desperate need.
Is it the warmth? Is it the static and the warmth that gets you?
And just the like feeling productive watching TV, and it keeps my hands occupied. You know, it's like it's such an easy chore to do. 20% paying attention to, and it feels good and worthwhile.
I like washing the dishes. Like I never use the dishwasher. It's sacrilegious. It just feels like it's gonna be loud. It's gonna take so damn long. Like there's 2.5 of us in this house. Like it's not. If we have company over, maybe I'll use a dishwasher, right? But it's like it's a couple of plates. This is so fine and so easy.
We have no dishwasher, and I won't say that I like washing the dishes. Like I don't go out of my way to, but I'm always the one who washes it, and it's okay. Like I you know, it's kind of a peaceful thing that I can look out the window while I do it. In the
I like
same
how mad you sound when you say it's peaceful. I don't know.
Because like, you know, I would prefer not to do it, I guess. Like I'm not
sure, yeah.
But as far as chores go, like I'll take that over most things.
Well, sure.
And like in the same vein, like I don't like shoveling, but when I'm out there, like I will usually end up doing like the full driveway, even though I don't have to. But it's just like I'm out there, I'm thinking about stuff, and it's as long as it's not like bitter wind in your face, it's not that bad.
And for people who don't live in the north, he's talking about shoveling snow, Janet. Shoveling snow is the fun thing. I like it.
Is that what was in Chicago all the years I lived there?
Yeah. Trying to wrap your mind around this one, Janet.
I think throw out the trash because I get to get fresh air.
Yeah.
Work from home life. I'd be inside a lot.
Yeah.
Ricky Maru writes in and says, "Hey, MinnMax, are there any game anniversaries that you keep track of or celebrate? Here's a list of upcoming anniversaries that I'd like to celebrate by replaying this year." Well, good on you, Ricky Maru. This year is the 30th anniversary of Chrono Trigger. It'd be a great time for that HD 2D remaster. God of War, 20th anniversary. It'd be a great time for the remake of God of War 1, 2, and 3. Bloodborne, 10th anniversary. Crickets. Fire Emblem, 35th anniversary. Lucky 35. Pac-Man, 45th anniversary. Heroes of the Storm 10th anniversary. Heroes of the Storm remastered.
Oh my god, I didn't get you anything for that. I'm so sorry.
Final Fantasy 9. Oh my god. 25th anniversary. Some of these are from the Japanese dates, so they're a little squirrely, that's why. Rayman's 30th anniversary. I'm curious if they'd have like a Rayman bundle on the Switch too or something. That'd probably be a good route for Ubisoft. Mario's 40th anniversary. Oh yeah, we're totally getting that new Mario 3D platformer. If this is the anniversary too, absolutely. And Twisted Metal's 30th anniversary. We got you season 2 of a Peacock show. Congratulations.
Yippee.
Good year. Good year.
Siege celebrating 10 years this December as well. They just announced Siege X.
Oh, that's why the X is in there. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, Nate Voris wrote in, says, "Hey, with the announcement of Rainbow Six Siege X, what could they do with this? Quote, not a sequel, but also not a typical update to win Leo back from the finals. Could they do anything?"
You know, last night we got the 5 stack together for the first time in years. We've tried a few times and the servers happen to be down because that game is busted and old.
Oh no.
And we played it last night and it worked great and we had a really great time and it is still so busted and old. We were playing the new mode, which is inscrutable. Maybe you could figure it out playing a bunch, but it's I don't even need to talk about how weird and much it sucked. Besides, we could hear the other team's voice chat. It was a group all chat of both teams talking to each other.
Oh.
It was so insane.
And it's not like a proximity thing?
No.
Weird.
It's just everybody could hear each other. We were like, is this normal? And they're like, it's been happening today. The other team. It's so bizarre. And we obviously had a lot of fun with that. But it is like, when that game tries something new, it is embarrassing. And that is sad. So I would really love to see them do from the ground up. Back to basics, because again, we had a great time and the core of that game is still so fun and unique and great for us as people who aren't amazing at shooters who can work together well and do call outs. It's so unique for that, where you can really focus on the minutia and win around based on being focused and not being the most amazing player of all time.
Yeah. Sincerely, Eric. Hey, everybody. Why is Nintendo getting rid of those gold points?
They're like, we had one good idea that we forgot to destroy. So they wanted to go, like, who left this good idea out here? And they decided to kill it. I think just trying to maximize profits for Switch 2, frankly. They're like, this is our time to shine. But it really sucks. I loved gold points. I got so many gold points. I love that when you even got physical, you could redeem the gold points off the cartridge within like, I think 30 or 60 days. And I think it was honestly like one of the best deals in terms of that. The like buy a game and get points that you can then use for like savings. I know like I know some people get some savings off PlayStation Stars, and I think I got like one coupon off that, so I'm not trying to like drag PlayStation Stars, but I still think gold points was like the one where I'm like, I wish everything did it like this. I am making so much money. Like, and especially with the indie scene being so great on Switch, like there's so many like hit load a high on that eShop. Sure, the pages take 8 million years to load, but like I would find some real gems in there. There'd be like some really good, and then getting it for free and trying stuff. Like it's honestly such a bummer because I feel like, I don't know how common that experience was, but it felt like such a part of what my Nintendo Switch experience was that I'm pretty bummed that that's not going to carry through in Switch 2.
Yeah. This is an odd thing. But we'll look back on it fondly. It's like it'll be the Miiverse, you know? It'll be like, oh, those were the days. The Nintendo Gold
Vouchers
points
are dead too. Which vouchers? I was always like, I'm surprised y'all are even doing this. This is kind of funky. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to do it anymore.
Never mind. Treethan, hitting all the big talking points this week. Why would any game developer work with NetEase at this point, after what they pulled with the Seattle dev team who just helped make Marvel Rivals? We didn't really talk about it, but Marvel Rivals, huge hit. Shockingly huge hit in some ways. And then there were layoffs from the team in America, because a lot of it was developed, I believe, in China. But then a lot of folks lost their job here, but like really high up positions at Marvel Rivals, they got the axe. And so it is just that feeling of the entire game industry this week was like, God, if Marvel Rivals is not safe, what are we doing? It's tearing up all of the charts. What a weird world. So would anybody trust NetEase at this point?
Who said you have to trust someone to work for them?
Yeah. Interesting.
You know, don't trust anybody. Like, why would people work for that? It's a job, something on your resume. You get some money, maybe get a bag for a bit. But unfortunately, like, I mean, I feel like societally, like you always have to be kind of on your toes about any job in any field. But definitely, yeah, it's really unfortunate. But I don't think it's necessarily going to mean they're going to have a hard time hiring. They're still like a really big company.
They'll have the money. Yeah.
But of course, with these companies, it's always the underspoken of like lack of knowledge of the engine, things people need to be trained in on, and things that if people love being at a company and are there for a long time, they're doing like better work because they know how to, versus constantly onboarding and doing layoffs.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's and it is maybe uniquely sad or uniquely hopeless feeling that a game doing this well, even they just get laid off like everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's also, I mean, we did an interview with Mac Walters, like the writer of Mass Effect, who's making that new sci-fi game with NetEase. And then what was that, just last year? Like November of last year, they also shut down that game project. So NetEase is tightening its belts a little bit. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. Villas writes in, so with the rousing success of Pew Pew Bang, insert applause, that's right, will there be any future reconsiderations to the Has a Podcast category on Thirst Council?
No, because we all know what Has a Podcast means.
Okay.
And if you don't, you got to rewatch the episodes.
Yep. Okay.
But hopefully over the course of decades, we're changing that understanding.
Oh,
exactly.
I see.
It's going to take a lot more work than this one episode. But my dream is that we all can be Has Podcast one day.
Wow, that's a beautiful dream. Justin Ray writes in, sounds absurd, but maybe there's something to it. I was listening to the latest episode of the Game Maker's Notebook podcast interviewing Alexei Pajitnov, the creator of Tetris, and I thought, who do you think's had a bigger impact on games, Pajitnov or Miyamoto?
Miyamoto.
Is it a landslide? I'm really trying to work myself into the headspace of like the impact of Tetris on the world.
Look, I love Tetris, but every Nintendo IP ever made? Come on.
Justin, never write in again.
What are
We're
we doing?
offended by this
What are we
question.
doing here?
Come on. Thank you for
Maybe
your support,
if it was
Justin.
like Miyamoto or God.
Yeah.
Josh Robinson wrote in and they say, hey, MinnMax, what is the quintessential Minnesota pizza and which restaurant would you recommend to those looking to try it? Jeffem is a man who tracked every pizza he ate for a year, like some absolute weirdo. Yeah.
I feel like the quintessential one is like a Totino's pizza.
Like a Hedgies or something? Like what are we talking here?
No, like the Totino's brand that was made from. It started in Minneapolis.
Okay, so that's the quintessential.
Like of Totino's pizza rolls?
I mean, like
one and the same.
Don't go out and look for one. Is it the same? Is it Totino's?
Yeah, started in St. Louis Park.
Right.
1962, Totino's Finer Foods. Truly the finest foods in the land.
And it became, so that's what became the pizza rolls?
Yeah, I guess so. If you want to go that route.
Is that what you're telling me right now?
That's what we're saying.
I don't know what
Totino's
bastardized spin-off the pizza rolls were. But yeah, they make just like a little frozen pizza. Villas in the chat is saying it's not good, and I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But it's also like that is like the quintessential Minnesota born, and like you know, it's like when people think of the Midwest and like casseroles, it's like you're not like the biggest. I'm not the biggest casserole fan, but I'd say like, yeah, that's what people are known for.
So what's the best pizza in Minnesota?
It was controversial when I said it 10 years ago or whatever. I'm still going to say Crescent Moon Bakery.
Yep. And
their football pizza, aka just their normal like Afghani pizza.
It is so good. A little spicy in there. Yeah, they eventually changed the name of that. Now it's just called football pizza. It's, I guess, a good example of just going on Front Street. Like, maybe people will be weirded out about Crescent Moon Bakery, but let's just call it football pizza. Come on in and have some.
Probably a smart choice.
Yep.
In the modern days. But,
it is. Yeah. It is quite good. Have you ever had, Jeffem, Jets? They're in Michigan and they're in Wisconsin and they're in Minneapolis here. But that maybe is my new favorite pizza to get.
I want to say we got it at GI once.
Okay, it's like Detroit style, so think like rectangle. But yeah, my friend, old best friend Ronnie, he put it the best way, where it's like it tastes like you remember Pizza Hut tasting, like the personal pan pizza, like that distinct vibe. That is Jets. It is so damn good.
Nice.
Brandon,
we have a few regional chains that are all really good. Devani's is definitely Midwest specific, if not Minnesota specific, and their deep dish is my favorite pizza for my money. The one I probably get the most is Punch Pizza. Marie and I get that. It's like Neapolitan style, super thin. You eat the whole pizza in one sitting type of deal. That's the one I recommend to outsiders, is Punch Pizza. Pizza Luce, also good, but hit or miss on their specific specialty stuff. But a lot of vegan options.
Brandon H., Legend of Kyrandia? I knew that one, Kyle, when you mentioned it last week. Kyle, are you listening? They knew that one. It was especially fun for me as a kid having the same name as the protagonist, Brandon, which rarely happens for me with my lame millennial name. Who is your favorite video game, movie, TV show, or book character that shares your first name?
Mark Wahlberg in the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes is named Leo.
Perfect. Iconic character, absolutely.
There's not many.
Really?
Not many Leos. I mean, maybe there's been more.
It's gonna be like a cartoon lion or some cool guy like that, right?
Yeah. There's a Leo on Little Einstein.
Okay.
He's the leader.
Okay, not bad. I mean, what are you talking? Freaking Ninja Turtles. What are you talking about? What's the matter with you?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
The big guy himself.
They call him Leo?
Do they call him Leo? Yeah, probably. It's tough. Ben 10, I've never seen it. That's probably the biggest show, right? Full Throttle. Ben-Hur. It's his. Full Throttle, main character there is Ben. But I've never finished Full Throttle. That's one I definitely want to play at some point. But that's probably the biggest, coolest Ben in video games. Ben the Rat from the Michael Jackson song, and I guess film. They haven't made a game about that yet, but they probably should.
My pick would have to be Jeff Lebowski, a.k.a. the Dude.
Okay.
Come on.
That's pretty good.
It's the only good Jeff there is.
Yeah, you're probably right. Is his name really Jeff in that?
Yeah, that's why he gets mixed up with the other Jeff Lebowski.
Oh, but then his name is Jeff Bridges.
Meta. What do you want?
Yeah, I don't know. Janet, are there good Janets out there?
No, I don't really have any. I know there's like that Rocky Horror Picture Show song, but that's all I know about my name.
All right, not bad.
Yeah.
Mike R writes in and says, "Hey everybody, with AI becoming more and more prominent in our daily lives, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? What are you using AI for on a daily basis?"
Nothing.
My friend was writing a cover letter and having a miserable time, and I was like, you should have AI write that, because they want it AI style, and it's sucking your soul to write it. So may as well have it for things like that.
Yeah.
The cover letter is like the worst thing you have to write in society. Yeah.
It's humiliating. I use it mainly, I think the only time I use it is when I'm making images for New Show Plus. A couple times it's come up.
What?
Of when I made the Agent 47 as Men in Black, Will Smith. I had Will Smith and I was like, turn him into Agent 47, and it looked pretty good, but he still had hair. And then I selected his hair. I said, make him bald, and I made him bald, and that worked pretty good. And I wasn't gonna pay an artist for that, so there you go. And I put Kelsey's eyes for her dream show. I selected her eyes and said, make her asleep, and it made her eyes.
You're
close.
using AI imagery for MinnMax stuff? I had no idea. People are gonna riot in the streets. I have never done that. What are you using to do that?
All those lids.
It's in Photoshop.
Oh, really?
You select something and it's a button right there now.
Though I always wonder, like, how much of that is like true AI versus, because there's like generative AI, and then there's like you can do a thing and they're now calling it AI.
It's
I
a little
wonder
squirrely.
like what because I use Canva for like background removal, and it's like, and I know Canva's like, we're adding AI to like the subname, and it's like, I think this is the tool you already had and you just start calling it AI. So yeah, versus like make a thing that hasn't existed before.
I don't know if it's a weird source of pride or just have this checked out of society, but like I have never used AI for anything, like, to the point that I genuinely don't know. If you put an AI generated gun to my head, Jeffem, I don't really know what ChatGPT is. I don't know if it's like an app or if it's a site that you go to and type stuff. Like, I have no idea of what that even looks like. People mention it, and I'm kind of proud of the fact that it's like, I don't know what that is. I've never messed with that. I guess like Google has that pop-up AI overview thing. It's like, okay, I guess I'm accidentally using it.
But you stab your eyes out every time.
Yeah, I make sure to, yeah.
I know I could add the minus AI, but I'm like too lazy to add the I just scroll past it every time.
Yeah.
Like, what's the real answer?
Because there's some stuff where it's like, if I confidently know the answer, then it's like, oh, this AI overview is way off. So therefore, how much can I trust it for other stuff? But
I Googled, do I chew lactate? I was like holding a lactate. I was like, do I chew this or swallow it? I Googled it and said, yeah, chew it. And I chewed it. It was horrible. Turned to chalk. And I was like, all right, this pulled it from a page for chewable lactates. That's
what they get you.
Yeah, Dan Reichert had the interesting take where he's like, I could see using it for like tabletop instructions. It's like, oh, that's an interesting case. I hadn't thought about that idea of like, I have this very specific question about tabletop with this rule. You think there's no way?
It'll just make shit up and tell you the wrong
It does have
rules.
a problem with that.
Yeah, there's that whole thing. Yeah. Jeffem, how's your crusade with AI going?
I don't like it or use it really. It was fun when it started as just like, oh my gosh, look what computers are doing. And then it was like, oh yeah, but then of course every tech company is now trying to control it and doing gross things with it and just trying to figure out how to fire people. And now you can't look anywhere without it being fucking AI in your face all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a really naive question. Feel free to kick me off the podcast if this is really naive. But like, there's that thing of like, oh, every time you generate something with AI, it's killing 4 trees or something. I don't really understand what that means. Does that mean every time we're playing a video game, we're also killing trees? Is it just basic processing
this is generative
power?
AI versus like,
I don't understand.
the AI that's an enemy. There are different kinds.
The math
it takes a lot
of
of power, so it's like you have to cool down the machines, and like the amount of water usage is.
But
like,
don't you think like
high.
using Stadia or playing any online game would also be doing the same thing?
It's not as much because we use power.
Really?
Obviously, everything's powered, but it's not as much. Yeah, it's like takes a lot. Like
So-
it's like it just takes a lot of energy to do that, which is also kind of why like a lot of people are do generally discourage like AI for like really simple things. It's like you don't need AI to make your grocery list. You could just copy and paste from a recipe. It's like because it takes so much to just do really simple tasks. It just takes a lot of power.
Yeah, Antonio in the comments is talking about like I think they factor in like how much energy it takes to train the models and then like the math on it is very weird. You could run your own like AI on your computer at home and it will take you like 10 seconds to generate an image or whatever, but it's just like it has been so upscaled by all of the big corporations like OpenAI and all those companies that I don't know how people are then computing how much like your single input or question is factoring into it, but they're apparently boiling lakes. So at some point it's like, who gives a shit? Just don't use it. And
okay. I'm sure it's one of those things of like, there's also probably a million other things that are boiling lakes that we just don't like to talk about, but it's a good point of fact against AI. I'm not saying we should everybody embrace AI in a big way. It's just one of those things like, it just feels too convenient of like, there's this one thing you do technologically.
For too long.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're curious about it, just a quick looking it up, they kind of show you like the data centers and the size and like some comparisons.
All right.
That's a blind spot for me too, Ben. I need to look into that more.
All right, thank you. Google AI overview says it's fine, so I guess that's all right. Super Cerberus writes
if Gemini is down for it, Gmail, let me take that off, please.
Please. Super Cerberus says, back in 2020, the MinnMax show panel, which was Ben and Leo and Ana Diaz and Jill Grote. That's a fun panel right there. They made a list of the 10 games we need to exist. Do you remember this, Leo? And then we ranked them based on how loudly the internet demands them. What would you change about this list now? So this was the games that we need to exist. Number 1, from the bottom up. Number 10 was Bully 2. Number 9 was Left 4 Dead 3. Number 8 was a Pokemon MMO. Number 7 was KOTOR 3. Interesting. Number 6, of course, was Splinter Cell: Stealth Planet, which seems pretty good. Number 5 was Mother 3. Number 4 was Fallout New Vegas 2. Number 3 was Silent Hills. Number 2 was Bloodborne 2. Number 1 is Mass Effect Remaster. Interesting. So we got the Mass Effect Remaster. We got Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is something. Did the Stealth Planet ever come out for Splinter Cell, Leo, or?
No. Oh. I forget if it was publicly canceled or privately.
Interesting.
They're still doing the remake of the first one.
That is true. In terms of, how we rearrange this stuff now, I think Bloodborne 2 is number 1 for what the internet demands exists. Right? It's got to be number 1, want, craving, desire. I don't think anything else is competing. Mother 3, around number 5. I think that makes sense. Tough, but I think Bloodborne 2 is the new number 1 now that Mass Effect Remaster is out. And even that was very heavily, I'm sure, weighed by me who was craving a Mass Effect Remaster. But we got it, and it was good. All right. What do y'all like for a question of the week?
First one was a good conversation, I thought.
Yep, that's true. The sheer breadth of the game industry, robbing people of enjoying a game. I also like the how many games should be on the greatest games of all time list. I think that's fun. Mm-hmm. I think I'd lean that first one. How y'all feeling?
Yeah.
Yep.
What? I said, how y'all feeling? All right, Mason Cowell, congratulations. You just won question of the week. Thanks to I Am 8-Bit. Now it's time for a segment that we call Get a Load of This. Hey, y'all. Y'all ready for this? Get a load of this. Shuhei Yoshida, in our interview, he mentioned that the former CTO of PlayStation, that he wrote a book that came out last year, and I had no idea. So I picked it up. It's from Masayuki Chitani, and it's breezy. It's beautiful. It's a cover girl. But don't judge this book by the cover girl, because it actually has a lot of fun info in it. It's just cruising through the full history of PlayStation from a technological aspect, but super approachable. But there's just a ton of fun facts in there. Like he talks about the PS2 sold really well in Japan. He says in large part because of The Matrix. Because The Matrix released on DVD, but a lot of DVD players didn't work with The Matrix DVD. And so as they were finalizing the PS2 DVD player, we're like, we need to update this to make sure that The Matrix specifically can run on a PS2, because that DVD is selling like hotcakes.
Fine, I'll watch it. I just dug out my PS2 also, so good to know.
Watching The Matrix on a PS2? Oh, Janet, I mean,
it's the only way to watch it.
It's true. But something interesting in there is this thing from PlayStation, Jeffem, won an Emmy in 2007. Try and guess what PlayStation thing won an Emmy in 2007.
The startup animation.
Close, very close. The cross media bar on PSP won an Emmy. It's like one of those, who would even remember that? But I just love that this guy is like a real point of pride. It's like that cross media bar was so good, and it actually ended up winning an Emmy, the Emmy of Technology and Engineering, apparently in 2007. But
wow,
yeah. But the book is called Behind the Scenes of PlayStation by Chitani is the author, but it's got some good little factoids in there.
Get a load of this. I was recently at like my local game store, and I saw a pink 3DS, and I said, "How much is that pink 3DS?" And they said, "Oh, this one." It's like, I think he might have said he'd let it go for like maybe like $2,000 or something. He's like, it's the Choto Peach 3DS, and they didn't make that many of them. So they're really expensive. And I didn't, this is probably like old news for a lot of people, but I had no idea this thing existed and that it was so cute and so rare. But like on eBay, it'll go for like, 13 or so. Like I think he said the highest you've seen it go for is like 5, depending on quality. I'm looking around. It seems like maybe 1,000 they made. He told me 400, so it's like, oh, you're kind of off on that one. But hey, the game is the game, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, kind of cool to see like those console variants. And I have a low key dream of having all pink consoles. So it's like, oh, that would be cool to get one day if I want to throw away a bunch of money.
That'd be
so
nice. That'd be nice.
Get a load of this. This is a game called Dragon Sweeper by Daniel Ben-Mergui. Apologies to his name that I just butchered. But it's basically like a mashup between Minesweeper and an RPG kind of, where you have to press all the little squares and get rid of them. But you have a character that has a certain amount of health. And as long as you're alive, once you've gotten a certain amount of experience, you'll level up. That gives you more hearts. And you have to kind of keep building yourself up without dying by doing the calculations in Minesweeper. I can't remember the article that I saw that mentioned it, but it's on itch.io, and you can play it right in your web browser. And it's a fun little game. I have never come even close to beating it, but you should check it out.
Sweet. Links below for all this fun stuff.
Cool. Get a load of this. It's a YouTube video, Defying Gravity Synchronized Roller Coasters. This is maybe a classic genre of video, having a roller coaster tycoon footage of the coaster syncing up to kind of the emotion of the music and the tempo and the rhythm.
Ooh, that's good.
And this one is really long and cinematic and impressive, and it's 2 coasters, one pink one representing Glinda and one green one representing Elphaba. And Marie and I watched this and loved it and showed it to a friend who was alternating crying at its beauty and laughing at how it was making them cry, which is the perfect reaction. Because it is so goofy, this old roller coaster tycoon footage, but it's also, of course, the song is hitting and it's just genuinely moving, and the choices they make for what each coaster is doing are genuinely beautiful. It's really awesome.
I love that. Link below if you want to check it out. We have in the Discord channel, the Discord period, there's a channel that's Get a Load of This, where people from the community share fun tidbits each and every day throughout the day. It's been fantastic. Jot shared this post from Console Variations on Blue Sky saying, you ever seen a Nintendo Switch dev kit? It's more than double its thickness of a regular Switch. It also has built-in HDMI, network, and Wii controller ports. I've never seen a picture of a Switch dev kit. Like, I feel like most of those always float around for most consoles, but somehow I missed this. But you can look at the link below if you want to see what developers are using for the Switch. Now we just got to see the Switch too. Just imagine how sweet that would be. But that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for jumping over there on Patreon. If you've enjoyed what we've been turning out here in 2025 so far, you jump in at that $2 tier. Hopefully not too much for you. And it is incredibly sustainable for us. It means the world to have folks jump in even those smaller tiers. We do have, at the $5 tier, again, bonus pod, Haley's podcast each and every week. Leo Vader and Joe Buckles, developer of Dome King Cabbage, is on this week. We have a bunch of new stuff in here. We have Pew Pew Bang. Reminder, subscribe to that in a separate podcast feed, but you can help support it on Patreon if you like, but help spread the word about Pew Pew Bang. It's awesome. Then let's see, we have New Show Plus, which is going to be hopefully live on YouTube by the time you're hearing this, watching this. So people voted for a charge shot, which means we were going to skip a week of New Show Plus and then do something bigger and bolder than would be in the standard rotation for New Show Plus. So what we're doing is Leo Vader and I are going to jump in a damn ice hole and jump into a lake. That is the plan. How are you feeling about it at this point, Leo, hours before we do it?
I did my research on it. I snooped around at this type of stuff, and there is a chance we'll die.
Yeah, it's the first New Show Plus where there's a chance we'll die, but it's just a chance. And I've been...
I mean, statistically, driving to the New Show Plus isn't that more dangerous than
it always? That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Such a good point.
And
so you have double chances to die now because you have to drive there also.
It'll be 3 degrees max.
It'll be 3 degrees outside. But Leo, the good news is the water is like going to be 34 degrees or something. So it's technically going to be
what matters.
A nice boost up. It's going to be funky. I can't wait. It's I think genuinely, I think it's going to be more relaxing than you think it is, Leo. I think we need to channel, some Finnish inspiration, some Scandinavian inspiration here. It's like, it's a soothing thing. You're not supposed to be just splash, run out. Like you got to soak it in and take it for the kind of mental clarity that it offers. That's the goal of this New Show Plus.
Yeah, I mean, people who freeze to death are very calm.
Yeah,
at the end.
There's nothing happening in their brain. Yeah, so look forward to that, everybody. It'll be up on YouTube, hopefully by the time you're watching this or listening to this. Also, next week, we have another new show debuting. It's a funky one, and normally I hate doing this, and so I'm to blame fully. But it's one of those situations of like, I really want to do it. I don't have a plan of like, this is going to be a 5-episode series or anything like that. So this is like a little bit of a trial balloon of like, if people really love this and it does well, I could see doing more. But it's something that Kelsey shot and I edited, and it's kind of, it's cool. It's kind of in that package of, some people for our community survey that we did on Patreon, some people were like, MinnMax stuff, everything's like 3 hours long. Like, I want something that's a little more digestible. So this is more of a snackable show, but I also think it offers a lot of insight into the game industry. And so hopefully you all enjoy it. It should be debuting next Monday, so look forward to that. Otherwise, GDC is coming up. It is going to be Haley and Sarah and I, and then Janet is going with Pen to Pixels, technically.
Actually, the Gamecast, my podcast with my fiance.
Hey, there we go. Very specific, of course. And so we will be at GDC, and just like last year, we're going to do a meetup. We'll be communicating more about it. We'll have a post on Patreon. You don't need to be a Patreon supporter to join us. So if you're in the San Francisco area and you want to come out on Monday, March 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific, we will be at the Tempest Bar. Tempest Bar, which is not too far from the Moscone Center, but we'll be there. Come say hi. We'll have a space reserved for us. Shout out to the Tempest for taking care of us there. Very sweet. So if you're in San Francisco, Monday, March 17th, we will be there. Come say hi. Let's talk about games. It'll be a lovely, casual time, but we'd love to shake your hand and thank you for listening, watching, sharing, supporting us on Patreon, whatever, but feel free to bring a friend as well. So we'll communicate more about that in the future, but that's it. All right. That is it for this episode. Anybody else got anything they want to plug?
My new video will be out or about to be out on my personal channel.
Awesome.
Leo Vader.
YouTube.com/Leo Vader.
Yeah. Nice. It's another deep dive on a show, and it's the worst show I've ever seen, and worse than any show you've ever seen.
Great. Well, that sounds fantastic. Incredible. All right. That is it. Leo, let's go jump in that damn lake, man.
All right. R.I.P.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Till then, be good, have fun. Let's go.